just today. You have a Bible?
She's on vacation. No, she's out of the country. She won't be able to go home. She doesn't have international on the phone. And on a teacher's salary, she can't afford $100 for gas. For the night. For 1
It's
hour.
expensive.
For 1 hour, it was $87 or something. So she figured second hour is cheaper, but still. I mean, I was on the phone from 8 o'clock until 10 minutes to 10, so.
Right, you never know.
It costs over $100. I got new contacts. Unfortunately, they're no longer possible. I have to bring my reading glasses.
Uh-oh.
I should have looked in the car. I bet you there's a pair.
I have one in the office. You want a pair?
Yeah, I won't look at my tablet too much. This I can read, because the print is big enough. It's the tablet. Is the bill list in there? Oh, okay. All of it.
Is that the ordinance?
I got to start the reading.
I shall, man.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, Terry. 7 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Would everyone please stand for a short prayer and a salute to our flag? Almighty God, grant us the wisdom to make those decisions that are in the best interest of all of our residents. May the Heavenly Father of us all bless those who have given the ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation, and may He watch over and protect our servicemen and women now guarding the gates of freedom. Salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Terry, statement of publication, please.
Yes, Mayor. Take notice that this regular meeting of the Mayor and Borough Council being held on this 11th day of July 2016 has been advertised and posted in accordance with Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Buchanan,
Here.
Grillo,
Here.
Kilpatrick, Lembo,
Here.
Novak,
Here.
Rittenhouse.
Here. There being no prior minutes, it's with great pleasure that I'm going to call forward the Sayreville Police Chief, John Zabrowski. It's indeed a happy night tonight for Sayreville and for the Sayreville Police Force. Chief, if you would, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and good afternoon, everyone from the borough. Before I introduce our two new officers, I just want to say a few words about what transpired last week. Over the weekend, I had someone that came to me and they said, it must be awfully difficult to be a police officer in this day and age. And I said at first, you know, not really. We are now better trained, better equipped, and I would like to think better educated than we ever have been before. And yet, the incidences that occurred last week are really unexplainable, truly unexplainable. And I was very lucky. on Sunday to go to Mass, and when you're looking for guidance and you're looking for suggestions, sometimes maybe a little divine intervention comes to be. And I know Mary was there at church for 9:30 Mass, and Father Ryan was talking about neighbors. Simple concept, neighbors, in his homily. And the question was posed, how many of us now know our neighbors? Those in front of us, those on each side, those behind us. Well, those of us that are kind of a little bit older probably remember a time when as soon as someone rolled into your neighborhood,
Made him a cake.
you rolled out the red carpet, you introduced yourself, you brought money, you brought food over and everything, and everybody knew everybody. Today, people know neighbors on sitcoms better than they know their neighbors. So maybe there's something to that. We have a wonderful community, and I think we're a little bit different than most communities. I know our community as a neighborhood comes together at times of need. Certainly the incidents of Sandy and other things that have occurred tells us that we laugh together, we cry together, we comfort together, and we do all those things. But maybe as a community, a bigger community, maybe we're not doing enough. Maybe we're not reaching out enough, and we're not seeing the commonalities that we need to see, and that's why some of the things that are happening today. Because I still believe we're better equipped than they ever were. I think the 2 officers you're going to meet tonight are outstanding and probably the best trained that we've ever had. And yet, their safety is probably less secure than it ever has been before. And that's to say that some members, maybe not in our community, but in other communities, don't feel safe either. So I also had a wonderful opportunity this afternoon to have a number of phone calls from members of our faith organizations, the leaders of our faith-based organizations. And they proposed an opportunity for us to all get together as neighbors to talk about some of the commonalities, talk about some of the issues, talk about some of the faith-based issues that maybe we all can learn about and teach about and extend to the community. So I don't have a date yet as to when this is going to occur, but it looks like probably sometime next week we're going to send out invitations on our Facebook and what have you, and obviously in our website and the borough's website. And I encourage everyone in the community to come and take an opportunity to talk, to laugh, to have an opportunity to see what was going on and what we can project for the future, because I think as neighbors, that's the obligation that we should have, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. So at this time, I would like to kind of change pace a little bit and introduce our 2 newest officers. And I'm going to ask Police Officer Christina Burt to come up and take her oath. Christina is waiting for some family to arrive, so Victoria Puccio, if you could come forward with your family, we'll do that now.
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
that I will faithfully, impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of police officer of the Borough of Saraville all the duties of police officer of the Borough of Saraville
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Congratulations.
Don't forget to sign your paperwork, otherwise we won't pay you.
I know what you did. Can't see.
Can't see in the corner.
Isn't that nice?
Terry, move over. Terry?
Yes.
We're trying to get it more on that.
Yes, we did,
Oh.
we want you to be front and center.
Oh, yeah, right. Left hand on the Bible, raise your right, repeat after me. Okay, just grab a little closer this way by the flag, maybe you can stand right in front of the flag.
Right behind the tree.
Would that be better?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, you're gonna repeat after me and insert your name. I
I, Christina Burt,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
That I
and
will-
allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of police officer of the Borough of Saraville
all the duties of police officer of the Borough of Saraville
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, welcome aboard. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Don't forget to sign.
Sure. Otherwise, we're gonna do it inside of 3 times.
Oh, okay. Whatever. Whatever they want. Just do it. We're just gonna take pictures in 310. This is her family. I feel bad. Christina's family just all came in. Look at them. Go that way. I feel bad.
Terry, next order of business?
Mayor, under, excuse me, under the next order of business, we have the public hearing on the following ordinance. Ordinance number 337-16, bond ordering providing for the replacement of the Winding Woods wastewater pump station in, by, and for the Borough of Saraville, New Jersey, appropriating $1 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $950,000 bonds or notes of the borough for financing part of such appropriation.
This time, I'm going to open the public portion for questions or comments on this ordinance. Are there any questions or comments? Being no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion. Councilwoman Novak.
I move the public hearing be closed, the ordinance adopted on second and final reading, advertised according to law.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Novak,
Yes.
Buchanan,
Yes.
Grillo,
Yes.
Lembo,
Yes.
Rittenhouse.
Yes.
Mayor, I'd like to report having received the supplemental debt statement from Wayne A. Kronowski, our CFO, as of July 11, 2016. I need a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. You need to go over B, Terry.
One moment, Mayor.
5B.
One moment, Mayor. I need a roll call on that.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Novak,
Yes.
Buchanan,
Yes.
Grillo,
Yes.
Kilpatrick. I'm sorry. Lembo,
Yes.
Rittenhouse.
Yes.
Creature of habit. We have the introduction of the following
No,
ordinance.
5B, Terry.
Old business, Tara.
Police radio discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor.
That's okay.
I better get better glasses.
Could you get both chiefs, please? Is there someone here from First Aid who is going to speak for either both or individually? Okay.
Hey, you want to put this off until we're done with the pictures, because he's having pictures taken. Just for a minute.
He's getting his pictures taken.
Yeah, he's having pictures taken with all of them.
Okay. I don't want to rush what's going on. Should I proceed to the next item and then come back? Oh, okay.
Just
All right.
introduce the bond ordinance.
No,
He's
no,
here.
we're good. We're good. Kevin, does anyone from First Aid wish to come up and comment? Okay. Vinny, Chief, if you'd come up, please, and run this portion of the meetings to discuss these radios, as the impact is the most on the police, fire, and First Aid. Appreciate it. If you fellas would just announce your name for the record.
Vincent Ranowitz, Fire Chief, Saraville Fire Department.
John Zabrowski, Chief of Police, Saraville.
Okay. Chief, it's my understanding that VCOM, that this was a state contract with exacting specifications. Is this
Yes,
correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Are the specifications being met?
Well, the specifications were definitely met, from my understanding, by one of the vendors. There may be a question as to the second vendor's contract pricing.
Okay. Who has done the analysis on this?
That would be VCOM, our consultants.
Who would you like to have speak
Would ask
first?
if Dominic Valleco could come forward.
Oh, it came up at the last meeting that VCOM, who is a consultant and is a widely respected consultant, that I don't know whether it was you, Vincent, or one of your partners, had worked for Motorola many years ago. But it's my understanding, because Motorola is the largest in municipal radio systems, that if you're in the business and you hadn't worked for Motorola at some point in your career, it's not a good thing. I mean, practically, my understanding is everybody in the municipal and first responder radio business has Motorola in their resume, as more often than not. Is this correct?
Well, yes, Motorola is the largest in the public safety industry. It's from a vendor perspective. And my partner, David Stern, did work for Motorola 28 years ago. And yes, there's a lot of ex-Motorolans out there in the field.
Did you conceal this fact? I mean, I saw a piece of your marketing listing all the principles, and it clearly stated that your partner had worked for Motorola 28 years
No,
ago.
we've never concealed that. In fact, it's been in proposals that were voted on by the council when we first came on board. It was in his bio in that council. So I
Okay.
know there was a discussion to that extent at the last meeting, but it's never been concealed whatsoever. In fact, it's always been upfront.
Okay. Would you go over the specifications that we sent out in the state contract and where we are today, please?
Yes, let me grab the. We had, as we discussed in the, I believe it was the June 6th meeting, we had put together technical specifications for purchase under New Jersey state contract. With those specifications, we had identified, and I'll paraphrase this because there were 8 pages of specifications, but we had identified things such as the radios, the antennas, cabling, backup power systems for the 2 sites, all the subscriber equipment, which would be the portables and the vehicular radios, the mobiles, things like the accessories, encryption, antennas, that type of thing, and the protection standards, the dust and water protection standards, which again, we talked about at the June 6th meeting. We also in there had requested, because you need a new 911 phone answering system, so we requested a new, what's known as the next generation. NENA is the national organization that has come up with the standards called I3, and we had requested an I3 compliant system. We also had requested integration into the existing voice recorder system. You have a relatively new voice recording system today that records every conversation that any of the people on the radios have, as well as we needed dispatch furniture, 24-hour support, and just other related components. So all of that was in the 8 pages of specifications.
But this is a fairly established state contract?
Yeah, state contract T0109. It's been around for a while. It changes from time to time, but it's been the same contract. The state has a very specific format to follow as far as when you submit a proposal. It's pretty simple: part number, description. You know, there's a variety of different things they're looking for.
And everyone was in agreement that this was to be this state contract?
Yes.
Okay, so where are we, if you would bring us up to date? Who meets the spec and who doesn't meet the spec?
In the previous presentations, we had recommended Motorola as the compliant proposal. Tactical Public Safety is an agent of Harris. They had submitted several proposals as well. There were a few things that we had noted that were not included in subsequent submittals of these proposals. And you may recall what we did was, from an analysis standpoint, we added them back in just so that we made sure the costs were covered. Our concern was that there would be no change orders later on relative to items that were in the specifications. We had sent a letter to purchasing. My understanding, it was forwarded to legal. It was legal's opinion that representations that were made, and I don't remember if it was the June 6th meeting, I think it was the June 6th meeting, but representations that were made by Jim Foley of Tactical Public Safety were that these things were included, and your attorney said that that was okay, so we were okay with that. The problem that we had all along was that if these aren't specifically in there as line items under the state contract, in fact, yourself, Mayor, you had mentioned about having a checklist. Well, we gave a list of specifications. The checklist really comes from the vendors. The vendors then follow the state format. So the issue that we have is, without the specific checklist, a verbal commitment's fine, but I don't know what it is I'm going to reconcile it against. So from that perspective, the most complete proposal that we still have, other than the verbal commitments that were agreed to by your council, the most complete proposal that has the specific line items are the ones from Motorola. And that's been the basis of our recommendations all along.
Are there any questions from the governing body? Thank you. If you stay close, Chief, both chiefs, is your recommendation still the same?
Yes.
Yes.
And your recommendation is for which vendor?
Motorola.
Yes, Motorola.
Okay, does anyone from First Aid wish to comment? I beg your pardon, Kevin? So all three first responders are supporting the Motorola specification, okay. So if Harris Radio, just in the interest of fairness, wishes to talk about meeting the state contract, now is the time to talk about it.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
If you'd identify yourself, please.
Yes, my name is Timothy Sage. I'm one of the owners of Tactical Public Safety, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, Mayor, members of council, and those in the audience this evening. I'd like to state that our proposal is inclusive of all the specifications outlined by VCOM. We plan to provide every item that's listed on those specifications. And I'd also like
But did you submit that in writing? That remember, we're going by a state contract.
Yes, sir.
So you need to be in compliance with the state contract for purchase.
Yes, sir.
So are you making a statement today that you are in compliance with that state contract, whatever? What is the number of that state contract, Vinny? What is the state contract number?
T109.
Dominic, rather, I'm sorry. All right, you're in full and complete compliance with that state contract,
I believe I am, sir.
okay? Please continue.
Well, I'd like to take the opportunity to point out some advantages of the Tactical Public Safety proposal, if I might indulge you.
Go ahead.
Radio system coverage was discussed. We provide a guaranteed 95% in-building coverage guarantee to Sayreville within the boundaries of Sayreville as a borough. And in addition, we provide 95% in-building coverage outside of Sayreville and within the confines of Middlesex County. We have technology that's current IP technology for simulcast radio systems, which is what's been proposed. It's a distributed simulcast control point. Our competitor does not supply that.
Well, let's stick with what you have, and then I'm going to ask your competitor to get up. But I just want to hear what you have and your compliance with the state contract, please.
My compliance with the state contract is absolute.
Okay.
Everything we're providing has part numbers affiliated with the state contract. We've actually been in touch with the state prior to our submittal to verify that we are in compliance, and we have received feedback from the state that indicates we are compliant. So we've taken that step. If I may continue.
Please.
Harris Systems operate with a core that's called a network switching center. This network switching center has been proposed to Sayreville. It's also a component of the Middlesex County radio system. Our proposal includes a unique peer-to-peer connection between the two network switching centers that will allow seamless roaming for users here in Sayreville. If a radio user travels outside of the coverage footprint of Sayreville and into the countywide coverage, radios will automatically switch to the countywide system, and with this unique connection, we can have seamless roaming where dispatcher intervention or no one has to change a knob on the radio. That call any calls from those units outside of the Sayreville coverage area and in Middlesex County's coverage, those calls will be heard at dispatch, and dispatch can communicate seamlessly right over their dispatch console with no intervention whatsoever. I know that was a concern with one of the council members previously. So we'd like to point that out, that it's a unique Harris Tactical Public Safety offering. Another advantage is direct interoperability with Middlesex County. That would be Sheriff's Department, Hazmat, Prosecutor's Office, and all the county departments that operate radios in a public safety or support environment. That would be inherent through the dispatch consoles. We have a feature called fail-soft trunking. If there is an issue where the system is degraded, say the network switching center fails, our systems have the intelligence within each repeater to trunk themselves automatically. This is, again, a unique feature. We have something called trunked fail-soft. In other systems, if the controller's lost, you go into what's called conventional fail-soft, where you leave the trunking environment. Users have to be aware of this, perhaps change some settings on their radio, and then they're all vying for a couple of conventional channels. So we want to point out that level of redundancy is within our system. Sayreville would also have direct access to the county's Network First Interoperability Gateway, which has many connections to systems outside of Sayreville and the county, so that we can provide a more robust interoperability between agencies with different towns. We're also providing access to a Beyond application. This is an application where the full suite of P25 communications are permitted through your cell phone, through your smartphone. Anywhere in the world you can communicate on your system, provided you have either Wi-Fi access or a certain LTE technology. Again, that's unique to Harris in this offering. We've heard there's some radios that are being proposed by Motorola that perhaps may be coming up for
I'm only
discontinuance.
interested in your radios, just your radios.
My radios are all offered. They're all current production radios. There's no plan for end of life or obsolescence of these radios. They are long-term platform radios that we've offered. And
These are
providing.
brand new radios?
Absolutely, brand new. Yes, brand new technology, brand new radios.
No, brand new radios.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you asking if we're selling used radios?
Yes.
No, not at all. I don't think the state contract would allow that. So those are my comments from a technical perspective. If I can answer any questions, I'll be happy to do so.
Are there any questions from the governing body?
Yes, Mayor. Now, you said you're in compliance. Where is the copy of that paperwork that could be reviewed?
We have some emails that went back and forth with the state. Mike Kerwick from Harris is along with me this evening. He has talked with the state as well, the state entity who manages the state contract.
Where are the papers? This is still hearsay. We still don't have papers. We still haven't seen anything. Has any of this been sent to VCOM? Who are the consultants?
VCOM has seen our proposal, our parts proposal.
You're still not, you're avoiding the question.
No, I'm not avoiding the question.
The question is,
I have a question for you. I had asked folks here in Sayreville if there's going to be questions, if I could see those questions ahead of time so I could better prepare. I don't have the parts list with me. I did not bring that with me. I wasn't aware this question.
I understand you asked that, but we don't have questions until you first get up and we hear your explanation.
I can supply you with the documentation that I have. I just don't have it with me at the moment.
Was it given to Harris? Or was it given to VCOM?
They received a
Or our
complete parts
police
list.
chief?
They received a complete parts list with the exception of the UPS. And the UPS, those two UPSs are items that we are providing at no cost to Sayreville, therefore they did not come into the state contract quotation. They are state contract items. They're located on Schedule T of the state contract under UPSs.
I think my question is, the correspondence you have with the contract administrator in Trenton on this state contract, you presented that you have emails from him stating that you are in compliance with this state contract?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Between myself and Harris, between Tactical Public Safety, Harris and the state, yes.
All right, so your presentation is that you are in compliance with this state contract?
Well, you've asked me that several times now, and I've indicated that we are in compliance.
No, that you have a document, you have an email from the contract administrator in Trenton. Correct me if I'm misunderstanding you.
We submitted our complete proposal, less the UPSs, to the state, and I have a letter that states this.
States
States
what?
that they've approved this.
Okay, did you
list.
forward that to VCOM?
I can't recall, but I do have it.
Okay. Can you, we would like you to submit it to VCOM if you would, please.
Sure, absolutely. It's all public record.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I have another question. How many municipalities in the state of New Jersey are you currently in?
Again, that's a question I'm not prepared to answer. I don't have the exact counts, but we're in many towns here within the state, upwards of 100, I would say.
Could you provide us with a list of those towns?
Sure.
And also, you mentioned the Sheriff's Department. Now, the last meeting, they said that the Sheriff's Department wasn't online because of the Verizon strike. My understanding is the Sheriff's Department in your system should be is microwave and would have nothing to do with them stringing lines.
No, that's not entirely true. There is a console, dispatch console connection, which relies on a landline connection, and the reason for that is the microwave system, we didn't have a path over the air to make a connection between the sheriff's department and one of our sites. Now the county's working to cut trees down and make that path available to us, and the plan is to ultimately go microwave. In the interim, we are using a cloud-based T1 from Verizon. That was enabled, I'll say, within 10 days after the strike ended. And the sheriff's department's consoles are connected to the system, and the sheriff's department is operating on the new P25 system.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, I do, Mayor. I apologize, I didn't send the question to you, however, do you
Well,
represent?
I'll do my best to answer.
Any state agencies use your radio system in New Jersey?
Well, we have, the state of New Jersey does have some Harris radios on the state system.
Okay. How about federally?
Federally, the Harris radios are used tremendously in the federal environment.
Are you able to disclose which agencies or no?
Well, I'm not with Harris. I don't know if Mike has any input here.
I know there's some.
Yeah.
Yes. Come up. Come up. Come up.
Pleased to submit.
If you'd identify yourself, please.
Sure. My name is Mike Kerwick. I am the area sales manager for the state of New Jersey. I also interact with the state contract. So for the record, if you care to have these, Councilman, I've brought some brochures for you to tell you a little bit more about Harris. Specific federal agencies, I'm not qualified in my position to answer that question.
Sure you.
But as far as the state contract, I would like to be on record that I do, in fact, interface with the state on a regular basis. All vendors on the state contract have additional services and products that are added on a yearly basis, if not sooner than that. So what we do is we send that information to the state to be approved to be added on. The process that I understand, as I understand it, when a quote is provided to a customer, that customer supplies that quote to the state, who verifies that information provided in the proposal is in fact on state contract. Should there be a discrepancy, I'm called and given the opportunity to add those items to the state contract. That's to the benefit of municipalities such as Sayreville, because it provides you with the best pricing, especially within competition.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Motorola, if you would come up, please. If you would identify yourself, please.
Certainly. My name is John Caulfield.
Is that on, John?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
John, if you would just keep it to your product.
Okay. First and foremost, we wanted to thank you again for allowing us to come in and speak to you about your system upgrade. We've proposed to you several times. We've responded to the specifications, and we've been compliant every time. Our proposal at this point should be the most compliant, most complete, and most cost-effective offering for the borough of Sayreville. We stand in front of you with more than 30-plus towns and townships that have Motorola trunk systems in the state of New Jersey. You would be not the first, not the second TDMA trunk system that would be installed in the state. You would be one of hundreds that we've installed across the United States. We're very proud with our relationship with Sayreville, and we hope to continue it. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions for Motorola?
Yes, Mayor. How many municipalities are you in New Jersey?
At least 30.
How about statewide?
Statewide, the statewide system is a Motorola trunk system, and all the state agencies use it.
And federally?
Federally, I do know that there are federal agencies that use Motorola trunk systems.
You have to hold it up.
Yes, sorry, sir.
What about out-of-area coverage? If we have first responders such as fire, first aid leaving the town to go into another town, how does that coverage work?
Okay, what you would do in your radio, you would have those predetermined talk groups within your radios. When you go out of Sayreville, it may be dangerous if you automatically switch to a county system or some other system if you want to be on your home talk group of Sayreville. So in that instance, you would have predetermined talk groups that you would go for mutual aid and interoperability into other trunk systems.
Why would it be dangerous?
Because if you were automatically switched to another system, you might miss a dispatch call from your home system, Sayreville.
Are there any other questions for Motorola?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Could you just explain your trunking system and redundancy?
The trunk system has a main controller. Within that main controller, there are several layers of redundancy, where a board can fail, and then it goes to a B board. Outside of that, we have a secondary controller that we proposed for Sayreville, that if something happens to the first and the second layer of redundancy within the main controller, you go to the second controller. At that point, you have those similar layers of redundancy in the second controller, before at that point you would revert to a fail-soft scenario. You would still have communications, but you would, 5 things would have to have gone bad for you to get to that scenario.
Mayor, if I have another question.
Go ahead.
If one of our responders leave the area or didn't leave the area but is out of range, you have to switch the radio to get to the next frequency back into Sayreville? Is that how it would work?
If you're going to leave your home coverage area, say, and talk to a further area within the county, yes, you would have to switch over to another trunk system. The interoperability with all the other Motorola trunk systems or P25 systems in the area, you'd be able to switch over to that. But if you're coming back home to Sayreville, yes, you would go back to your system. Yes.
Are there any other questions for Motorola?
One question, Mayor. The 95% coverage that Harris is guaranteeing, do you offer, can you match that? Can you assure 95% coverage?
I'm not quite sure what type of
Do you
building.
anticipate 95% coverage?
Well, I would anticipate if we put the same antenna and the same base station at the same location, you're going to get the same coverage. Okay. Actually, specifically, you might get better coverage with our radios because we have better audio transmit and receive specifications than our other vendors do.
Again, I just have to stick.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are there any other questions for Motorola? Okay, thank you, Motorola.
Thank you again.
All right, so to the first responders, the police, the fire, and the first aid, has anything tonight changed your point of view on your radio vendor selection? Fire Chief Vinny Ranovich?
No, Mayor. I would like Motorola still.
Chief?
No, it hasn't at this point. And the only issue that I would raise at this point is the question as to how many Harris systems that are P25 Phase 2 that are currently in operation.
Okay. Kevin, has first aid changed? They're still supporting Motorola. So the entire first responders for the borough of Sayreville, who have spent years on this, have chosen Motorola. VCOM, have you changed? Has your point of view changed?
No, Mayor. One thing I'd like to clarify, some of the information that we did get from TPS and Harris, we did get some information that had indicated that the state had approved their documentation. The one thing I need to point out, and this is what we've been trying to point out all along, is that while the state may have approved it, what the state does is the state approves the list that is submitted to them. What we did was we look at the list and say that's not compliant with the specification we had. It was missing a few things. So Mr. Sage had said it was missing the UPS. If you recall, the other thing that was missing was the mobile installation. And there was a third thing, which I confirmed afterwards with Mr. Sage, that was missing as well, that we hadn't brought up because you remember there were 5 pages of changes that we had at the previous meeting. This seamless roaming and the link between here and the county was not a specific line item in the last proposal either. It was actually taken out of the last proposal. And in that memo that was submitted previously, it said in there that it was taken out because of a letter from my partner, David Stern, an email from him. In fact, the email from David Stern was that microwave link or radio link wasn't needed between the 2 existing sites because you already have a radio link that's in place that's relatively new. So we were trying to reuse that. Anyway, so this link between you and the county, Mr. Sage had committed to me after the fact that it was included, but again, there's no line item on the checklist that we have, so the state couldn't confirm that it was in or not in. In fact, that line item was in previous proposals, and for some reason it was gone the last time. So the big issue has been what's included, what's not included. Everything that has been included has been approved by the state, does have state part numbers. That's not the issue. The issue is there are things that aren't included, things that had changed. So our recommendation is still the same.
And your recommendation is?
Motorola. There's one other thing too. I haven't seen it, but I got copied. I guess there was an email that came in today. I think Motorola submitted an additional price.
I don't know.
I just saw an email.
That's correct.
Okay. Does it change anything?
Doesn't change anything, no.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That being said, what is the pleasure of the governing body?
Mayor, may I just, at the last meeting, Vicki asked me to bring this up. I'm not sure whether it was...
Mary, is your mic on?
Yes, it is, Mayor. I'm not sure. I think that Vinnie brought this up. There was something about Motorola. If we had Harris, we couldn't talk to Motorola radios from other towns that we do mutual aid with. And I talked to Tom Bracken, who confirmed with VCOM that, I'll read what he says. We are getting a P25 Phase 2 system, turning on 700 megahertz frequency, running on sorry. We will have the ability to communicate with similar P25 systems no matter what the vendor, if they are built to the same standard. Also, if a system is running on a different frequency than P25, then it will not matter which vendor, will not matter whether the vendor is the same, the radios will not be able to communicate directly. So just so if you try to communicate with another Motorola town.
I don't know what she's talking about because she wasn't in on that conversation, so.
It was the meeting you asked at the public meeting. At the last public meeting, it was a question that you asked.
My issue was that on June 6th, Jim Foley from Tactical had said that you will lose some advanced functionality if you use one vendor on another vendor's system. So everyone around us uses Motorola. If I use Harris, my question was, what advanced functions am I going to lose? Am I going to lose my emergency button? What advanced functions are there? The gentleman that was here from Tactical couldn't even answer that question, and they had to call Jim Foley himself to get the answer. To which, when he explained it, I understood it clear as day. And the gentleman from Tactical did not know the answer either. I had to explain it to him. That's pretty bad. I don't know what the deal is with whatever she's asking, but the thing is, she actually said something to me last meeting about misquoting her. Well, I think she's misquoting me, and I don't appreciate it. And speaking of Vicki, I would actually love to know how she could vote on a radio system when she said in the June 22nd meeting that she only picked Harris because she didn't get to ask 4 simple questions of Motorola, and because her gut said so.
Now you're misquoting her. That's not what she said.
Really?
Yes.
Go back on the video. It's there. I watched it again today 3 times.
Okay,
You're
VCOM,
misquoting
if
her.
you could straighten that out, please.
You're misquoting her. Yep.
I'll do my best, Mayor. The email, Tom Bracken had called. He's talked to my partner, David Stern. David had clarified that. Both Motorola and Harris both make P25 systems. It's an industry standard system. It's an open standard. One of the reasons that we recommended that was because it's an open standard, so you can mix and match vendors' equipment, that type of thing, to a certain extent. If you're going to be on the 700 megahertz frequencies, those frequencies are compatible with 800 megahertz as well. So the county, for example, has 700 and 800 in their Harris system. So if you had, and I had stated this at the previous meeting, if you have, say, Motorola radios, portable radios, you could talk no problem on the Harris system, and vice versa. There are, and I'd even mentioned that one of the Harris systems that's in the state today is down in Atlantic County. I actually spoke to the state. Jim Barsuglia runs the radio network for the state. That's a Motorola system. They have Motorola radios, but they have interoperability with Atlantic County. What they do is they program their radios, They took the radios to Atlantic County, and his words to me were, the system worked beautiful. Now, I had worked with the gentleman from TPS in Camden County. That was a Motorola system, and they had gotten the programming done, and when they did the programming for that, they got the Harris radios to talk. It was Delaware River Port Authority's got Harris radios, and it talks on the Camden County Motorola system. So if it's P25 Phase 2 from either vendor, they will talk to either vendor, to any other vendor, in fact, that's got P25 Phase 2. If it's 700 and 800 megahertz. Now, some of the towns have different frequency bands. So, for example, East Brunswick's got a 500 megahertz band. So what has to happen there is neither vendor tonight
Yes. I
can
understand
talk directly to East Brunswick without some kind of an interoperability switch. So what we would do is we would come up with either an extra radio at the dispatch center or some type of an interoperability switch, or Mr. Sage had talked about the network first switch that the county's got that would perform the same function. So what happens is if you have either a different technology or a different frequency band, you have to go through some intermediary device.
I understand it.
Right, right. So I'm not sure, I saw the video too. I'm not sure what the questions were. I was a little puzzled by the questions, but that's the fact. I mean, the bottom line is Motorola makes P25 Phase 2, Harris makes P25 Phase 2. They both comply with the industry standards. In fact, both companies were involved in developing those standards. They talk on each other's systems. There are several of the systems around the state that it talks in both directions.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the governing body? Again, what is the pleasure of the governing body?
At this time, I'd like to take the original resolution off the table.
Second.
You'd like to what, Dan?
Take the original resolution that we had on the consent agenda resolutions off the table.
And would you like, motion made and seconded, roll call.
You want to take the original resolution and place it back on the table?
Correct.
Thank you. And who seconded that motion?
Me.
Mary. Roll call.
Councilpersons Buchanan,
Yes.
Could you read the resolution so everybody is aware?
We're just taking it off the table right now.
Is this just taking it off
Just
the
take it
table?
off the table, then we
Okay.
have to have a discussion on it.
well, there is no resolution on the table at this point. The resolution was removed from the table, I understand, at the last meeting. The resolution was tabled at the last
Correct.
meeting.
Now we're putting it back
You're
on the
placing
table.
it back on. So I just want to make sure the wording is correct. Councilman Rittenhouse? Good?
Yeah.
Thank Councilpersons Buchanan, yes. Grillo?
Yes.
Lembo?
Yes.
Novak?
Yes.
Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the governing body? Pat Limbo?
I still feel we should go with the recommendations of our experts, our police, fire, and emergency.
Are you making that motion?
I make a motion we go with Motorola.
You're making a motion to award the contract, the state contract to Motorola. Is that correct, Councilman?
That's correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
I just have to say one thing under discussion. We already took this vote. We already awarded the contract to Harris a month ago. At the last meeting, the attorney advised us that we have already awarded this contract. I'd like a legal opinion.
At the last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, there was a motion to award the contract to Harris. At the last meeting, it was a memorialization of the previous vote. That was tabled for additional discussions. There were, I think, a letter that was submitted, questions resulted. There was a motion to table that memorialization of the awarding of the contract. Terry, am I wrong on that?
Terry wasn't here.
Yeah, the resolution at the last meeting.
Last meeting, no.
the resolution was tabled, but that was memorializing the awarding of the contract to Harris. So that was tabled. What you now have is you have Mr. Buchanan and Mrs. Novak and the rest of you all voted to put that back on the table. So I think the proper procedure is to vote on that resolution up or down with regarding the memorialization of the contract.
Having sat up here for 20 years, I've seen a lot of ordinances, appointments, resolutions die for lack of a memorialization. This is a bit new, Counselor, but being with who you're associated with, it's consistent and predictable.
We had a memorialization on the agenda. We tabled that memorialization. We just took that memorialization off the table.
Well,
we have to vote on that memorialization.
The odd thing, we need a further crack legal advice because a motion has been made and seconded.
But again, you have a motion.
Yes, but there's been a motion made and seconded. So, what words of wisdom have we on that?
You have a resolution that is on the table.
I
right?
understand, but we also have a motion made and seconded.
You do, correct. And you have a memorialization of a previously voted on resolution awarding the contract to Harris. So.
No, we never memorialized it.
I know that's what the resolution is back on the table. So my suggestion is to vote on the resolution memorializing that was previously done, and then should that fail or someone wishes to amend it or whatever, then you could simply vote on the Motorola motion.
What legal situation could we be put in if we now vote to put Motorola on and we have previously voted to put Harris on?
Well, you're going to obviously get into a bidding lawsuit. So my suggestion is to vote on the resolution that was placed back on the table. And then, Mr. Limbo, it's your motion. I'd like, if you would mind, withdrawing your motion. Let the motion resolving or not resolving the prior resolution get voted on. And then if in fact...
This is an interesting thing because this is your legal opinion, which many times many people disagree with. Before we do something like this, I wouldn't mind a second or third opinion on whether or not this is the proper procedure.
Well, I appreciate that, Mayor, and at this point in time, I'm being asked for my legal opinion, and I'm giving you the best I can. It's based on the history and the procedure. I think the proper procedure is, since you have was already voted on a couple meetings ago, the resolution was tabled. It's now back on the table.
I've seen appointments undone without this kind of legal opinion.
Again, you know,
this is not the only thing consistent about it.
Mayor, I don't.
Is that you're saying this?
It was said quite openly at the last meeting that we had already voted to award this contract. This was just an memorialization of a vote we already took. Mr. Rittenhouse tried to make a motion to vacate that particular vote. That was voted down. So we still have a vote. How can we vote to issue to Motorola if we still have a vote to issue to Harris? Are we going to pay for this twice?
I've seen us do this before.
Yeah, but that's why I'm recommending, Mayor, from a procedure point of view, that you first vote on the resolution that was previously approved a couple meetings ago and was tabled at the last meeting. It's been now moved back onto the table, so I think the proper thing would be is to vote on it, and if it goes down, then Mr. Lembo's motion can be reinstated. But my suggestion is, from a purely procedural point of view, since it was previously adopted and previously tabled, and now it's back on the table, that you vote on it.
Well, before we go further, I'd like everyone sitting up here to think about what the fire chief said was, when he's running into a burning building, this is the radio he wants. When the police are running into a deadly situation, this is the radio they want. When the first aid is running to save the people after they've been burned, after they've been shot, this is the radio they want. I would like everyone on the governing body to consider those statements from our 3 first responders. You most certainly have the votes.
The question is then, Mr. Lembo, will you withdraw your motion, or you want to move ahead with the vote? My suggestion from a procedural point of view is to allow the resolution that has been placed on the table to be voted upon, and should that fail, then, Mr. Lembo, your motion can be reinstated, and we could modify some of the words with it.
Well, or Mr. Limbaugh could go ahead and we could vote on his motion just to get an idea how the second motion would go.
Again, I'm not quite sure if I would recommend that. I would recommend that you vote on the resolution that is presently before the table, on the table.
Well, that's
that
Mr.
everyone voted on.
Limbaugh's recommendation.
Okay.
That's his motion.
But it's an illegal motion. We can't vote, we would have to vote no on it, because we can't authorize the purchase of the radio system from Harris and Motorola at the same time, Kennedy. You would have to vote no.
That's correct. And so therefore, procedurally, all I'm trying to inform.
Procedurally, we have done this, but I will defer to my colleagues.
So that's why I'm saying it's just not logical. You can't vote.
20 years this has been done before, but
Yeah,
okay.
But
go
again, I
ahead.
know that there's.
I'd love to know when, because I can't
Go
imagine
ahead.
voting.
But again.
I haven't sat up here that long.
So you could either, my recommendation, if there's no withdrawal of the existing motion that's on the table, then that motion should be voted down, and then the motion regarding Harris be voted, and then, Mr. Limbaugh, you could always bring your motion back up.
Well, like I said, there seems to be a difference of opinion here, so if I don't withdraw, can we, well, we have to vote on one of them, obviously.
That's why I'm saying it doesn't make, it's not logical to vote on yours, because you can't, obviously, as Ms. Novak was just saying, you can't award 2 contracts. So you have an existing contract that's previously been voted on and awarded. So should you not wish to withdraw it, I'm going to recommend that the council vote it down and then vote on the resolution with Harris. That will then be voted accordingly, whether it's up or down. And should it be voted down, then you have the right to request your motion again.
Then go that route.
Motion was made, placing the tabled resolution back onto the table, and that resolution was that of the first.
With Harris.
With Harris, so that can create a problem.
Just made it alive again. It didn't put it in a pecking order.
Just what I would recommend is, if there's not going to be a withdrawal of the motion, then do a roll call.
What's your?
Recommending that the vote.
I'm thoroughly confused, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, well.
So what you, I'm going to try to explain it.
You're not alone.
Previously, you voted to approve, you voted to award the contract to Harris 2 meetings ago. The memorialization of that resolution was supposed to be heard last meeting. Because of a letter that was submitted at the 11th hour, everyone had questions. There was going to be a follow-up meeting, follow-up discussions. It was tabled by Mr. Buchanan. I guess all the questions were answered. You are now voted on, and everyone voted on, to put the resolution back on the table for a vote, for memorialization. So that's what should happen.
Okay, then let's vote on it. I mean, doesn't matter whether I withdraw it or not. If that was the first one, then we.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying both of you would. I'm sorry, Mr. Rittenhouse.
I would withdraw my second if Mr. Lembo wants to do that. That way we can vote on the Harris one, get that out of the way.
That's fine, Mr. Lembo.
But I think we need a very thorough discussion about that Harris motion, and I'm ready and I'm prepared to discuss a lot.
Okay.
Okay, so.
I'll make the withdrawal and we'll vote on Harris.
So now
For the
there,
second.
so now there is a motion, there should be a motion made to memorialize the resolution.
Doesn't have to go to public.
No, it's already been to the public. That was on the consent agenda.
Yeah, we tabled it before it went to the public portion.
No, we didn't. Public portion was heard. So at this point in time, what should happen is a motion should be made to adopt the resolution as previously memorialized. There should be a second, and then there can be some discussion as Mr. Rittenhouse.
You know what, I will open it to the public, though.
Okay.
So what is, state the motion, please.
It's a motion to memorialize the resolution that was on, that adopted and awarded the contract to Harris. I don't know what the exact resolution was. And there had a particular dollar figure in that resolution, and that's where you're at.
All right, so I'm going to open the public portion for questions or comments on this. Are there any questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you again. John Caulfield from Motorola Solutions. I just wanted to make sure that everybody on the council was aware of a letter penned by Dave White and sent in to the borough today. If you haven't seen it yet, basically, in addition to Motorola being the most compliant vendor, we have revised our maintenance offering. If you haven't seen it, I can read it, or if you've seen it. But bottom line is it reduces $160,000 from the total cost of ownership in the 5-year project term. So therefore, I believe that makes Motorola not only the most compliant, but the lowest bid, saving the taxpayers of the borough, tens of thousands of dollars lower than the Harris bid that you're about to vote on.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, come on up.
Timothy Sage, Tactical Public Safety. I would first like to just reiterate that our offering is fully compliant with the specifications. The specification for the link that Dominic Valecco referenced is not in his specification. However, it is being provided by Tactical Public Safety for the welfare and benefit of public safety use here in Sayreville. And I just witnessed Motorola changing their price. I'd like your comments on receiving that price change during this meeting.
I'll have to defer that, refer that to Mr. Dupont.
That's not part of the discussion at this point in time. Part of the discussion should be simply memorializing the resolution that was previously voted on. I know that everyone will have an opportunity to discuss and digest, but I will encourage the council to stick to the the qualifications and criteria set forth initially, and in your initial vote that occurred a couple weeks ago, or a couple months. Yeah, it was about 4 weeks ago. The first motion. Yeah.
Well, in any event, as a business owner, and I'm looking out for to the benefit here of Sayreville as well, I feel that I must state that if Motorola is able to submit another price, then I should be given that opportunity as well. Does that seem fair?
Again,
Didn't you have 4 chances that you kept changing yours?
No, sir. I did not change mine 4 times.
Yes, you did.
I sent a letter to the mayor indicating exactly what transpired. Dominic Valecco has misrepresented our changes in the last 2 documents where we included a more comprehensive parts list that was compliant with the state. Our price didn't change.
I sat at a meeting with the county administrator who said when you were way off and way much higher, he said he would guarantee that TPS Harris would match Motorola's price no matter what.
I am not aware of such a statement.
Well, he did, and we have witnesses to that. And I also have the Attorney General, and I have the County Prosecutor's Office looking into that.
So what are you saying to me here?
I'm just letting you know if you don't know about it. And
I'm saying that I would like an
that
opportunity-
somehow the county administrator was in touch with Harris, TPS Harris, and there's some type of collusion was going on.
That is completely false, untrue, and unvalidated.
And
What I'm
slanderous.
saying now is that I would like the opportunity for the council to consider a potential price change from Tactical Public Safety. If it's allowed at this meeting by Motorola, it should be allowed for Tactical to do the same thing.
I don't think the letter that is being submitted, and I haven't seen the letter yet, is being considered with respect to the vote. Should the mayor and council wish to throw out everything and reject this and give everyone a bite of the apple, that would be a different story.
Well, the question in my mind becomes, when is the cutoff for proposals and bids?
We've already had the cutoff. There's been a vote awarding Harris.
Best and final.
Correct. So
Then can I make a recommendation or a suggestion for you
these
to
recent
consider?
submissions are not included in the vote this evening. The only thing that's being considered is the memorialization of the resolution that was brought up and voted on 2 meetings ago.
And this change that Motorola has introduced, that has no bearing on
No,
the
it
decision?
does not.
Can't.
I have to take your word on that then. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Vinnie?
I have a question. As you know, I've been chief for a little over 2.5 years now. And after coming to a lot of these meetings, I've noticed a certain trend, and it happened again about a month or two ago. There was a vote for the PD for, I believe it was their overtime, or not overtime, I'm sorry, their off-duty jobs. And it seems like whenever a vote comes up for PD, Councilwoman Novak recuses herself.
That's not true. Only when it concerned, I stood down on that because it concerned money for the officers that work road jobs. I have voted on almost everything else.
Okay, well, this also concerns those same officers.
It does, they do not benefit financially one way or the other.
No, but it has to, I don't see how you don't have
I
an
am
interest
not
in it.
recusing myself, Vinnie, if
Okay.
that's what you're asking. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments on this? Chief?
I don't want to beat a dead horse. I appreciate all the discussion that's gone on for so much time, but I do have to express, both as a professional and personally, my disappointment. We've worked as a committee for 18 months to provide you with a very comprehensive recommendation to look at these projects and determine what was best for you, and then give you a recommendation. I can't say that I'm appalled, but I am disappointed that you would not take that recommendation, not take that advice, and I'm quite frankly not certain where you got the information that you've gotten to come to the conclusion that you did. And I would ask that you kind of share it with us, because obviously we must have missed something. And quite frankly, I think that's not the truth. We've spent a great deal of time looking into this. And you entrusted us with that opportunity and that task to do, and then you just cast it aside. That's bothersome. In a time and place that we live in today, the confidence you're showing to us, quite frankly, there is none. And I take that professionally as embarrassing. And I don't know what else to say about it, but it's amazing to me that you would take the technical knowledge, the work, and everything else, and just cast it aside. And again, I do appreciate the time you've looked into this, but I would ask you to take a little bit more time to really study it further. We've done a great deal of work on this.
Chief, the difference is the first responders, the police, the fire, and the first aid are doing it all for the benefit of the community. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, Ted?
Captain, as you eloquently said, it's about neighbors. It's about looking out for each other. When the council showed no regard for 30% of the residents of this township being illegally evicted by corrupt landlords, why should we be surprised that they don't care about the lives of police officers, firemen, and EMS officials? It starts here and it grows to there. In this township, I have seen party affiliation votes go crazy. It's no longer about the police officers, the fire department, or EMS, or the residents of this township being thrown out of their homes. It's about whatever their party wants them to say or do. And that's a shame. And we need to elect council members and a mayor who are going to vote for what's right, not for what their party tells them to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Al Pillar.
Is that on, Al?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, better. This was an award in response to an RFQ by the Borough of Somerville to these two vendors, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this is just a award.
No, this will be the purchase.
Was there was a signed letter of intent? Any signatures yet?
I'll defer to the counselor.
Yeah, we have the submissions and we have the bids that have been submitted. There's been a bond ordinance that's been passed. There's been a certification of financial ability to pay, certificate of funds. Thanks.
To Harris.
To blank. Right now, the only issue is the decision as to which they pick,
Okay,
whether
but
it's
no-
Harris or Motorola.
No ink to paper right now.
No, Al, there were, to do a purchase, you need 2 votes. The initial vote, which is the selection of the vendor, which was done, and then the second vote, which is the memorialization, which is on the table now. So if they vote to memorialize the purchase, then Harris, of course, is the vendor. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Being no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Move the public portion be closed?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Buchanan,
Yes.
Grillo,
Yes.
Lembo,
Yes.
Novak,
Yes.
Rittenhouse.
Yes.
Move the resolution be approved?
Second.
Roll call.
Discussion.
Go ahead.
I'm very disappointed in this whole process that we've been going through. We have the recommendation from our police, our fire, our emergency units. 3 years ago when I came on this council, one of the things, I was the liaison to public safety, and they were working on the radio system very hard. They've worked over the last 18 months very diligently on this. We had a meeting. We were debating going with a standalone or the county system. We did end up going with the standalone system, which is what the recommendation was. But we also then had a meeting and we talked about radios. And the county administrator addressed a group of us on April 4th. And the county administrator said that TPS Harris would match any price Motorola had. I also filed an Open Public Records Act with the county to find out what correspondence and what discussions the county administrator may have had with TPS Harris, Motorola, members of our council. Unfortunately, the county council for Middlesex County said they were too busy and they couldn't look at emails and correspondence. Therefore, I filed a complaint with the Records Council of the state of New Jersey. They are investigating that. Also, the fact that the county business administrator and our business administrator seem to be promoting Harris instead of being unbiased and impartial on that. I've had to file a complaint with the state attorney general and with the county prosecutor. I received a letter last week from the attorney general's office that they are reviewing it, and they are also contacting Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office. It is a shame that it had to come to something like this. We had a meeting where we discussed this radio and the council voted 6-0 to go with Motorola. Then miraculously something happened and all the council members changed, or several of the council members changed their mind. There was also a time that a meeting with the county administrator's staff by 2 of our council members on a Saturday, and our business administrator called and said to me, I want to have a meeting, you set up a meeting so you can meet with the county people. And I said, he said, because we can't have more than 3 people meet. That is a direct violation of the Open Public Meetings Act. I sent him a memo, an email, and told him that that was incorrect and to stop having those meetings. So as you can see, there's a lot of things go into this. Tonight I asked the representatives from Harris, TPS Harris, if they have all this in writing of the documents. Never really got a clear issue. So we're going to adopt something, we're going to buy something that we don't have a clear and concise written document that shows that they are in compliance. My vote will be no to TPS Harris. Thank you.
Are there any other comments?
Mayor, I'd just like to thank the police, fire, and EMS for the countless hours of work they put into this. It's a shame that it looks like it's going to be a wasted effort, and it's just a shame that politics comes before the good of the taxpayer.
Okay, for my comment, I was told by the people at the county that Sayreville would have this Harris radio system, and that was that, and there wasn't anything I could do about it. And I find this a very sad day in the borough of Sayreville. And as I've talked to the police officers and the firemen, there's not, everyone amongst them believes there is a personal gain involved in here. Nothing that can be proven, but this comes from the people who are trained on interrogation, and I always listen very carefully to what they have to say. So Sayreville has been sold down the river. I couldn't tell you whether the radio is good, bad, or indifferent, but what I can tell you is our choice was taken away from us by the County of Middlesex, and that I'm furious about. I'm absolutely furious about, because we are an entity unto ourselves, and I do firmly believe a person or persons are going to personally benefit from this award.
Mayor, I'll repeat again, like I've said several times, you're the only one sitting up here that seems to have benefited from your political job. I haven't even gotten a cup of tea.
Yes, I have a couple comments, Mayor. When this process all began, we discussed, it was discussed from the services, the being out of area coverages and the redundancy coverages, the redundancies of these radios, and my opinion has not changed that one system is more effective for our need than another. When we met with the subcommittee, I was told by one of the captains, again, their goal was to get a standalone system.
Yep.
And it didn't matter if it was one brand or another. They're both the same. However, we're finding out that there is more stuff that we can get with Harris other than Motorola. You have many states, many towns in the state, the entire state, not the entire state, but more of the state using this system and the federal government using this system. I've talked to other towns who are already on the system, and they're very happy with it. Talking from one town to another, they're still getting clear coverage. So my opinion is still the same. I do feel that there are people here that would be benefiting, and they're making their recommendation. That's why they're unhappy right now.
Well, I agree with you. There are people here that are going to be benefiting. That I agree with, Dan. No, it's closed, Ted. Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I just want to first point out that never once have I been approached by or had a conversation with any representative from the county about this. I can sit up here and tell the 45,000 residents of Sayreville that I stand to have no gain whatsoever from whichever vote I take. And I think it's shameful that this process, and I said this at the last meeting, has devolved into letter writing and one-upsmanship. The meeting we had back in April that Councilman Rittenhouse noted has led to nearly 3 months of exhaustive research, discussion, and information gathering. I think that while personal and professional opinions are going to run the gamut, this has been a very informative process, and I think that I know that I'm certainly making the best decision that I can make. It's particularly unfortunate that there's been so many accusations slung when we're talking about investing in a serious infrastructure system for this town and for the safety of its residents and its officers and firefighters and EMS.
Are there any other comments?
Yes. we decided not to go with the county. And everybody up here knows I was one of the people that wanted to go to the county. For one reason, was the 6 to 8 weeks to get us up on line with the county and the 6 months to a year to do a standalone. But Steve was in favor of, he was very adamant about the standalone, and I talked to Ricky Melendez and Tom Bracken, who assured me that although it would be much quicker to get a functional radio system, because we do not have a reliable radio system now for anybody, although getting it up and running quicker is extremely important, in the long run, we would benefit from a standalone system. So I was convinced to go to standalone. This got, me choosing Harris has got nothing to do with the county. I never, at no time did anybody in the county try to convince me to go to Harris. They have invested a lot of infrastructure, and naturally they wanted the towns to go with the county to spread the cost out because they spend so much money with the infrastructure. But, you know, relying on, again, Ricky Melendez, Tom Bracken, who have nothing to win or lose, just their professional opinion, I went with the standalone. I went back and I listened to the tape of the meeting a month ago, not the last meeting, but the one a month ago. And Viacom said that both systems would serve this town the same. Both systems, he's recommended systems back and forth. Matter of fact, I think they recommended Harris to the county. They were the consultant for the county and recommended Harris to them. So the only thing that was different was Motorola had come in cheaper, and that's why I went back and I listened to the tape, and that's what he said. So nothing here. Hey, if I really thought that we could legally say, hey, Motorola just came up cheaper, what can you do? What can you do? Hell, we might get this for free if we keep this up. I don't believe we can legally do it. Our legal representation has said we can't be doing that. I've heard nothing today that makes me change my vote. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Roll call.
Councilpersons Buchanan?
Yes.
Grillo?
Yes.
Lembo?
No.
Novak?
Yes.
Rittenhouse?
No.
3-2, Mayor.
Not unexpected, entirely consistent. I'm sorry to Saraville's Police, Fire, and First Aid. It's a shameful night for the borough. Next order of business, Terry.
Mayor, as I said earlier, we have the introduction of the following ordinance, ordinance number 338-16, bond ordinance providing for the acquisition and installation of emergency generator for the Borough Hall building by, in, and for the Borough of Saraville, New Jersey, appropriating $300,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $285,000 bonds or notes of the borough for financing part of such appropriation.
Councilwoman Novak?
Yes, I move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law for a public hearing to be held on the 25th of July, prevailing time.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes, yes.
Councilpersons Novak?
Yes.
Buchanan? Yes. Grillo?
Yes.
Lembo?
Yes.
Rittenhouse?
Yes.
This time I'm going to open the public portion for the consent agenda items. Are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Being no questions or comments on the consent agenda, I'll entertain a motion. Council President.
Mayor, I move the public portion be closed and the consent agenda resolutions be approved on roll call vote.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Buchanan?
Yes.
Grillo?
Yes.
Lembo?
Yes.
Novak?
Yes.
Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Is there anything for executive?
Not at this meeting, Mayor.
Okay, public portion, questions or comments on any and all issues? Are there any questions or comments? Ted?
Ted Peterson, the Crestview Apartments. the home of illegal rent increases and illegal evictions. Mr. Rittenhouse, I asked you to look for me in regarding to the Open Public Meetings Act, whether a board can vote in private on complaints issued to them by tenants. And you told me you would look into that, as the Rent Control Board voted in private on my complaints and simply gave me a statement at the rent control hearing. And I further asked you to look into the fact that I submitted, I believe it was 17 complaints, individual complaints. And not only did they not vote on them at the open public meeting as required, or as I was told was required, but they did not come back with a verdict on each complaint. They came back with a paragraph statement prepared by an attorney. Has anything, have you received any notification on that?
Hey, Art, if I would, in light of the fact that in your package today was an appeal by Mr. Peterson. Ted, you had filed your appeal as we discussed. Yeah. I would ask that you hold off on that.
I was just going to say the same thing. Because of the hearing coming up and the legal consequences, the answer to that I defer to the council.
Well, can I ask you, counsel?
Sure.
Is when somebody submits complaints to a board, which in accordance with the ordinances of the township, a resident is required to do, does a vote by the governing board need to be taken in public as to the result or the resolve of that complaint?
Well, again, most of the time, all actions have to be voted on and a decision made.
In public, at a public meeting, correct?
Again, in the setting that we're sitting in, whenever there's action that are taken in executive, if there's going to be action taken, you have to go out and vote on it.
What, again, to be specific, at the public portion of the Rent Control Board hearing,
Mr. Peterson,
open to the public, is that where the vote is required to be taken on a rent control complaint to the board?
Mr. Peterson, you can bring that up as an issue at your hearing.
Mr. Dupont, I don't want to bring it up. I'm asking a simple question. Is it required legally? You had no problem answering legal questions regarding the mayor's and Mr. Lembro's request for a thing. You spouted out what your beliefs were and what your judicial guidance was. I'm asking for the same opinion, Mr. Dupont. Is it required for a public board, such as the Rent Control Board, to vote on complaints in open public at the open public meetings? Yes or no?
Mr. Peterson, at this point in time, you have an appeal before us. There are.
But this question has nothing to do with my appeal.
Again, it could be, and I'm not quite sure. I see your handwritten appeal that you filed with the clerk. My recommendation is that you address whatever defenses that you have with respect to the decision that the Rent Leveling Board made a month ago.
Okay, at the zoning board, if the zoning board is going to make a ruling on a request from a public party, would the zoning board be required to vote on that in an open public session, or could they do it behind closed doors?
No, they have to do it, and any vote taken on a resolution or a approval has to be in public.
What I'm asking is the zoning board does have ordinances, land use ordinances and things to that extent.
Typically, most committees are...
Correct. So if a person from the public, if a resident files a request or a complaint with any board, such as a zoning board, as far as a zoning issue, if that zoning issue is to be voted on, is it required for that zoning board to do it in the open public portion of their meeting?
Yes.
With each individual member casting a vote on each individual complaint?
Yes.
Yes.
No, is it possible that they combine the complaints into one?
Sure. Again, we're talking in the zoning board application. If there's a number of use variances that are or a use variance required, you can't, and there's a need for exec. Typically, what happens, and it's mandatory, that you come out and you vote on the specific variances associated with that's being requested.
Correct. But Mr. Dupont, the question would be, if there was a zoning complaint for a sidewalk, if there was a zoning complaint for a parking lot, if there was a zoning complaint for a sign, would each one of those complaints have to be voted on separately and individually? Or could you just say, you know what, we decided that we don't like any of these, so we're going to vote again? Would each complaint at the zoning board for the awning have to be voted on separately from the sidewalk?
Every case is different.
And Ted, I understand what you're trying to do.
No, I'm trying to alert the public as to what is going on behind the closed doors.
The rent,
We have submitted 17 complaints of
Ted,
illegal rent
Ted,
increases.
you need to address the governing body.
Okay, and Ms. Novak, I find it interesting how all of a sudden, you've never commented on the illegal evictions of the tenants within this community. You've never commented on the illegal rent increases within the tenants of this community. However, you just put in your 2 cents. Is it okay to rule all in one common thing?
No.
How come all of a sudden there's an interest on Ms. Novak because there's at least a decent amount of people left
Ted,
here?
you
Your
need to
question,
address the
excuse
governing
me,
body.
excuse me, he was answering about the zoning board. And I said, when you have something before the zoning board, a lot of times it'll be a blanket okay on all of them, or a blanket no on all of them. Sometimes they combine them. That's what I said, Mr. Peterson.
Well, sometimes the person who presents the complaints combines them. However, if a member of the public provides 17 separate complaints to the zoning board, they would have to rule on 17 separate things if they all are non-related.
We're talking apples to oranges.
No, we're
If
talking
somebody
apples to
has- no,
apples.
If somebody has a complaint about a zoning issue, they don't go before the zoning board, they go to the
Okay, Ms. Novak,
Andrew Mashansky.
To make it simple, complaints were filed for illegal rent increases for time purposes, for mailing purposes, for illegal increase of pet rent, for illegal increase of garage rent, for removal of services, for many different things. How could you combine all of those separate issues into one entity?
I was talking about
Okay.
the zoning board.
Mary, we can't get involved with this because it's going to be at Ted's hearing at the next council
And
meeting.
again, Mayor, I find it amazing how everything can't be gotten. I received a text from Art Rittenhouse. Ted, this is going before the council, so I can't comment or get involved based on the township attorney's advice. Ted, I can't do this. Pat Lembro says, Ted, let's get it go through the rent leveling board first, and then we'll take action. How come everybody can discuss everything else before action is taken or a vote is taken? Why is everything open to council members to discuss with each other as to the legitimacy of complaints,
Ted.
as to the severity of complaints?
Ted,
Yes.
Ted, if it's just me. All of these arguments you can present at the appeal. You're gonna
This is not an argument, Mr. DuPont. This is a statement of how the council acts differently according to each
But
situation.
you're going to have an opportunity to raise all of these arguments at your appeal.
And that is
You
why
file-
nobody should be surprised of the vote for the radios. It's not about right and wrong in this township. It's not about following open public meeting acts. It's not about whether people are being harmed. It's about what party lines are telling these members and this mayor to do. And that's a shame.
What does concern me with this is the vote not being taken in public. I
Well,
mean, that
I
more than
informed-
anything is what concerns
And
me
this was
right
after
now.
14 months, Mr. Lembro, and thank you for your assistance during the whole time. After 14 months of filing these complaints and failing to receive an answer, after I was forced into Middlesex Superior Court 9 times for illegal evictions, 9 separate illegal eviction actions by Value Properties, Crestview Apartments, not one council member ever said anything to me. I came up here now for 14 months stating they are illegally evicting tenants, they are illegal raising rents, people are becoming homeless, people can't afford to feed their
Hey,
families.
Ted, on your complaint, you said you're gonna bring counsel at the next meeting?
No, I had called Mr. DuPont. At this point, we do have an affordable housing group who will be representing us in
Okay,
this
would
matter.
you have them-
However, Mr. Mayor, until that time, I've been advised to ask questions to Mr. DuPont, which I reached out to Mr. DuPont, and Mr. DuPont and I have become friends, so I don't have any
He's got my
animosity.
cell phone. You don't have no
I
problem.
have no animosity towards you,
You have
Mr.
no
DuPont.
problem texting me late
We
at night.
need to know as
Right now,
a
you know that.
council appeal is something that is not commonly done, are there going to be depositions, interrogatories, and subpoenas? If we need to have people.
It's typically done on a de novo basis, meaning whatever documentation were submitted to the rent leveling board, it will be submitted to here.
Okay, so we want to know, and we asked
There'll be-
for
there'll be-
copy, and within the complaint, we've never received any response to that. As to our request for emails, for texts, For the documents.
You can get copies of everything that was submitted before the prosecution of the claim at the Rent Leveling Board. I would suggest that whatever your counsel is, or whoever it is, you can reach out for Mr. Nolan, and Mr. Nolan will certainly give him or her a copy of anything that
Well,
was
as this is
submitted.
before the council, Mr. Dupont.
No. Remember, whatever.
No, it has to go through the clerk.
We're only going to be, wait a minute, we're only going to be receiving that which was received and reviewed by the Rent Leveling Board.
Correct, and we've asked for all documents
Right.
from the Rent Leveling
And
Board.
the Rent Leveling Board.
But at first, everybody understands this. We asked for the OPA request, and we were told that we already have them because we sent them, so they're not giving them.
You
to
know what
us.
I would suggest, Ted? Why don't you have counsel call me?
At this point, until the case becomes scheduled, I've been requested by the Affordable Housing Group and by council to act on. They're very busy people. So at this time, I'm asking for all the documents. But within my complaint, Mr. Dupont,
you know what
we've
I'll
done
do
that.
is I have to be here tomorrow morning at 10:30, I think, for a meeting with Mr. Cornell. If you call me back then, I will ask the borough clerk how many times we've sent it to you, and I'll provide you with documentation.
No,
that we
what's
sent.
never been sent to me is the entire case file from the Rent Leveling Board.
You know what,
And
again-
despite my requested copies of the texts and emails from all board members and from Mr. Nolan, I've never received those. And I've done that through an OPA request. And
Okay.
I've never received any of the copies
Again,
of
I'll be-
emails or texts or electronic transmissions
I'll
as
be here
required.
tomorrow morning at 10:30 or 11 o'clock, I forgot which one it was. So if you'll text me, I know you've got my cell phone number, feel free, and I'll make sure that we get whatever documents you need. I'm sorry, Wednesday.
Okay, so as far as scheduling a hearing, Mr. Dupont, we have no scheduled date for the appeal before the council? I had saw it was on the agenda online, I looked, and it said that scheduling that meeting was on the
Yeah,
agenda.
but I want to
item.
make sure that your counsel's prepared so that when you're able to prosecute the claim before, that you have all the documents and everything that you need.
And as far as ensuring that the Rent Leveling Board members are here for questioning?
You can
No,
certainly,
you're coming before the governing body, not the rent level.
remember, they're not going to, there's not,
You're appealing it. This is not a court of law where you're doing a cross.
Okay, so we do not have the ability to question them?
no.
Okay, and how about the Rent Leveling Board special attorney with no?
He'll be here prosecuting the appeal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. I've taken my 5 minutes, but ladies and gentlemen from the council, again, I've been told that I've been obsessed with this matter of rent control and illegal evictions by a party who I thought was a friend at one time. Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing worse than losing your home or being unable to afford your rent and feed your family. Ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing more than working hard every day to have your rent raised 80% in 5
Hey,
years.
Ted, you need to address it to me. And by the way, I'm the guy that told you you're obsessed with this. And I'm a friend to everybody in Saraville. So sometimes you got to tell a friend things they don't want to hear.
Mayor O'Brien, there is nothing obsessed about preventing from being
Ted,
subject to 80% rent
Ted,
increases illegally.
We're
Mayor O'Brien,
focusing on your lease and your rent. Nobody else's but you.
Mayor O'Brien,
So
when it came
let's
to the
deal with
radios,
this.
Mayor O'Brien, you said, do you meet this specification? Do you meet this specification? Do you meet it's not about are you just going to supply the township with a radio? But your opinion on rent increases is, did they simply raise it within the proper amount? Not did they do it legally, not did they do it with according to the ordinance and time frame, 60 days, within proper mailing, certified mail. Did they illegally raise garage rent and pet rent? Not according to you. None of that matters,
Ted,
Mayor O'Brien.
you wanna-
You said to me,
Ted?
as long as they raise the 2%,
Ted?
everything, these ordinances are not hard and fast.
Ed, I'm going to ask you one more time.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to follow this up when you come before the governing body on an appeal because you disagree with what the Rent Leveling Board ruled.
Mayor O'Brien, 14 months ago, I came to my first meeting before the
Ted,
board.
Ted, that's it. You're done. So come back on the appeal, please. Thank you.
Can I have 30 more seconds?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Larry?
That's a tough act to follow. Good evening, everybody. Larry Gates, 33 Creamer Drive.
I just wanted to thank the borough for the quick response that I had from the last meeting I was here.
Those two fellas over there get all the,
Well, I'm going to
all
get
the
to them, but
thanks.
first I wanted to say to the borough for the quick response for the
It's all them.
for the signs that got put up.
It's all them.
Because there's new signs, there's replacement
Larry,
signs that
it's
got put
all
up.
them.
Oh, it was your guys? Okay. All right, and well, I wanted to thank the chief also for positioning and stationing his officers for 2 weeks to monitor Creamer. It did help a lot. A lot of cars got pulled over. A lot. I don't know what it showed, how many. I know it was a lot.
Is it having a lasting effect, Larry?
It worked while they're there. It worked when there was a sign put up after they left for 3 days to show what the people were speeding. That helped too. But now it's business as usual now that they're gone. And I just want to explain there was 3 more issues that occurred since I was here last.
What happened?
Somebody came down the street early in the morning and just wiped out my neighbor's garbage cans. Destroyed one of them completely, garbage all over the place.
Were they on their way to work or on their way home from a town?
On the way to work, probably. But just blew through them and just kept going. Didn't even stop. Now what's happening now that the police aren't present anymore, again, the people are now harassing.
What time was this in the morning,
Well,
would you say?
between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
Yeah. So, but recently, now that the police aren't present anymore, people are back to their old antics again by getting on people and riding their bumpers and then passing them. And but there was a woman that was trying to get out of development the other day, an elderly woman. Well, not elderly. I shouldn't say in her 60s. I shouldn't say that. I'll get in trouble for that. I know. I'm almost there too, so I shouldn't say that. But she was harassed by somebody behind her trying to get out of development, and she thought if she can get off Creamer and take a side street
Yeah.
to get away from this guy followed her and followed her back on Creamer, and she went down to Minnesink, and instead of her going up,
Who followed her?
this person.
Wow.
And they were harassing her, beeping and yelling.
Really?
So she went down to Cheesequake. But before she got to Cheesequake, they actually went around her, went in front of her, and stopped.
Stepped on the brakes.
So she was scared to death. So what she did was she had to put it in reverse. She didn't know to call the cops. She didn't know to put it in reverse. She put it in reverse and backed up, and then she ended up going past that person and driving up Cheesequake real fast to DuPont to go to the guard. And I guess I think she did make a complaint. Her and her husband did come down to the police department, made a complaint about that one. But just Thursday, my neighbor across the street, same thing. He got out of his driveway to go to work, and he was going down Creamer 25. Somebody come up on his butt, and they didn't like he was going 25.
Yep.
They went around him on the left-hand side, started screaming and yelling at him, cursing at him, pulled in front of him, and then again, the brake lights go on, and then they want you to stop. Then they start playing games with you. So,
In your opinion, are these people going through your development, or are these people
well, I think
that live in your
I think the
development?
chief could probably find out from all the people that they pulled over that probably majority of them might be from the neighborhood or adjoining neighborhoods. It might not be, people outside of the neighborhood. But that's why I requested that, 0 tolerance on the parking,
Well, I think
on the tickets.
You got that.
You know what I mean? That everybody gets a ticket.
Yeah.
So it makes a statement to let the people know they can't do it. But see, I'm realistic. I know that he can't position people on that street every day
Right.
for the rest of the existence of this town.
Well, we have 600 streets, and it's a roving traffic enforcement.
So my question was about humps last time and about putting, slow down in the street signs. Is there a possibility, I was looking at it, there's no 4-way crosses on that street. There's only 3-way. Could we possibly have stop signs somewhere like halfway, 3/4 of the way, that stop traffic, that it have to actually stop instead of go 100 miles an hour from one end to Creamer to the other end?
I'm going to defer to the chief, and I'm quite sure he will review and research that and try to come up with a solution for you.
Because, like I said, I don't want him wasting his time and all his efforts of the officers sitting there when there's more important things, as he said today earlier, about the safety of the town.
Well, that's
He
part
shouldn't
of
have to
the
worry
safety.
about people speeding up and down residential streets.
No. Yeah, but someone's going to get hurt, and that's of great concern to all of us
Well,
sitting up here.
and I didn't want to bring this up, but on July 2nd,
we had another issue, which isn't a speeding issue, but we had somebody come down Creamer, jump the curb, take out a lamppost, drive down 2 people's lawns, one was mine, before they went back on the street. Now, if that would have been a person
Right.
walking on the sidewalk or a car parked in the
What
street.
kind of speed do they get up to on Kramer?
I'd hate to say this, but some get up to 50 miles an hour.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Not everybody. A lot of them are mostly doing maybe 40, 45, but some, they just, I don't know what it is. They just think it's a drag strip.
Okay.
So I'm just looking for help. That's why I'm here.
As you found out, we listen, and,
Right.
and what we need is a more permanent solution. And I know the chief has top-notch people, and they'll address it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry.
I
know exactly. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Al Peller, 251 Morgan Avenue, Morgan. We good? Can you hear me?
Yes.
You know, my family came here about 108 years ago to farm, and we found out we were better at drinking than farming, but several let us stay anyway, and this is where we've been ever since. Resident of Morgan all my life, and I can't speak for everybody. I think there's some folks here that might back me up, but we're really not happy with what's become of Morgan. I want to go through a real quick tour of Morgan and tell you a few things that have been going on. One of the things that we really don't like is as you go down Route 35, one of the first commercial buildings you hit is the adult bookstore. Thank you very much, zoning. 7 doors down, you can have a massage. Thank you. 900 feet down, you could stop at the Hop-On Inn Hotel, where you can rent a room for the hour or for 8 hours. Proceeding down Route 35, you hit yet one of number 2 massage parlor. You know, I know you guys have your troubles in several with some of your establishments, but I just find it really hard that my town has turned into that. So, coming home from work the other day, and I come around the Club Benet drug handle, and I look over at the Morgan Bluffs. Whoever named that should look up what a definition of a bluff is, because that isn't it. And I see a water hydrant there, and off the hydrant, the landscapers is using our water to water in his sod and his trees. Okay, fine. Being in construction most of my life, I knew that most of the time the contractor is allowed to do that, but he's issued a water meter, and he's charged accordingly. I have a picture of it. There was no meter on that hydrant. Now I'm sitting at the light looking across at the Gavello property, which is an eyesore.
Which property?
Gavello. I believe you did a liquor ownership last July to a new owner from the Gavello folks. So I don't know who the new owner is. I got the name here, but I'm not sure that's the owner. And it's partially demolished, and that kind of bothered me, and I've been looking at that for the last 8 months. So the next morning I went to the water department, and I was told that the developer did have a permit, and he was also issued a meter. And I think the water department followed up on it, but I'm not sure. Does anybody have any input on that?
I don't know.
Okay, so quite frankly, I could be wrong, but to me, he's stealing my water. If I go home tonight and I hook up to the line side of my meter, this gentleman's gonna come over and arrest me for stealing water.
Right.
So our first homework assignment is I'd like to find out what went on there.
If you would, Dan. And the second thing, sir?
So the second thing was I went over to the building department, and in the past, I've had my bouts with Andy over there. It seems that anytime we try to do things the right way and we pull permits, we get harassed, okay? Most of the time I have the unpleasant experience of dealing with Bob the builder, and he just makes unrealistic demands and punch lists and for simple things, and then I got to look at a place like Gavello's every night when I come home. I think you're all familiar with it because at the last meeting, a couple of you said, I came around to Beninato property and I thought, oh, look how nice that turned out. And then he said, oh, now we got to develop the Beninato property. Why? You know, why we got to develop everything in Morgan? So I went down to see Andrew, and I got to tell you, for the first time, the guy was great. And he told me that the owner's having problems. he found things there that unexpected deficiencies in what he wanted to do. And I think we all know, building department, that there's a unwritten rule that if you leave one wall up, you're doing a renovation, okay? That's a loophole that a lot of people get around. I think that's what's going on there, but when he went and looked at it, it was clear to them that he couldn't do it. So Andy said to me, "What do you want?" I said, "Sunday I saw children playing on the property." And I said, "At best, can we get a fence around the property and get the dumpster out of there?" And he looked at me in the eye and he said, "I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to go to there today." And I walked out thinking, yeah, the dealings I had with you in the past, you're not going to do nothing. Next day, fire, police, building, dog catcher, they were all there. My neighbor told me. 4 hours later, the fence went up. So thank you. But further discussion is what's going to become of the Cavello property, and how long do we have to look at that before we can condemn it and raise it and get rid of it?
Jay, do you have any input on that?
Mayor, I don't. There's no applications for development before either board, so I'm assuming it's just handled through the construction office.
So it must be a demo. So Dan, if you could find out from construction when they're planning on finishing the demolition?
It's a renovation.
It's a renovation.
There you go. It's not a renovation.
Okay.
As far as I know.
Yeah, but
Well, let's get it confirmed.
yeah, and like I said, hats off to Andrew. I have a completely different outlook of our building department now. He was a gentleman. He was a man of his word. So, whatever we can do. I don't want to address the public. I don't know if anybody else is here to speak on this. I hope there is. But we can't keep looking at this. One more point, we go up to the old Stewart's Root Beer property. There's been a building under construction there for at least 11 months. It's a car detailership. It hasn't been completed, and I don't understand that. How these guys are allowed to permit. Oh, to go back to the Cavello property, when he did the demo there were no markouts done. He was stopped, I believe, by Cavello, the son, because they started taking the building down without a demo permit, without markouts. Power was still hooked up to the building. And quite frankly, the way that facade's sitting there right now, it's dangerous. And I don't know who was there the day of the fence going up. I'm sure it was the building officer. Maybe we could find out what his take was on this. But we shouldn't have to look at that, Mayor.
Okay.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Miller? Pillar.
Pillar.
How do you spell it?
Pillar.
I don't know. I don't think we've met before, but I'm actually a professional city planner, and Route 35 is of particular interest to me, and the economic benefit that we could see, obviously reducing vacancies and looking at better construction. So I'd love it if you reached out to me via email, have a conversation. I'm curious as to what you and your neighbors are thinking about as some of the opportunities. Obviously, it's to get Route 35 to where it needs to be to benefit not only Sayreville as a whole, but of course the residents of Morgan. I think there needs to be a very wide brushstroked approach to planning for that area. So I'd be very happy to speak to you and pick your brain.
I remember the comments. I don't know. By the way, you guys got some of the best stuff on TV. That Channel 15, I'm not kidding you. I couldn't turn it off. You got best TV out there, folks.
You don't need Monday Night Football anymore, right?
No, I kept getting up to walk away. I'm like, no, this is getting really good. That meeting on the 27th, the last one, well, that was cool. But you came around and someone said, I thought I got off the wrong exit. I turned around and came around the property, and I thought I was on the wrong exchange here. So obviously, when you came around, you were looking right at the Cavello's property, and I like to come home to pleasant surroundings. Like I said, I don't know how. I know people have problems and stuff like that, but there's got to be something we can do, because we're going to look how long we looked at the Club Benet, and look how long it took you guys to get a developer in there to do. Well, we're not happy with what you put in there. We were hoping for senior citizen. We didn't get that. We're not knowing what we're going to do with the traffic there. It's going to be 186 units times 2, so that's to be seen. We're not happy about that either. But this thing about we got to develop everything, I'm afraid of what's going to go on the Club Benet property. I was hoping I'd win the lottery. I would have gave you guys money for trees as I took off out of here. So
Look me up and we'll have a conversation.
got
Okay?
your name here.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellin. Are there any other questions or comments? Being no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the public
So moved.
portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're going to open up the agenda meeting with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
Terry, statement of publication.
Mayor, take notice that this agenda session of the Mayor and Borough Council being held on this 11th day of July 2016 has been advertised and posted in accordance with Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Buchanan.
Here.
Grillo.
Here.
Kilpatrick. Lembo.
Here.
Novak.
Yeah.
Rittenhouse.
Here.
Okay, any questions on 338-16? Committee reports, Councilwoman Novak.
Yeah, Administration and Finance.
Mayor, is your mic on?
Yeah. I'd like to receive and file the following reports and minutes. Board of Education for June 7th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Next
Okay,
item.
Application for raffle licenses from Sayreville, Leprechaun, Pop Warner, Football and Cheerleading. Anybody have a problem?
Any objection? Next item.
Okay, like these to be forwarded to Tax Council, 2016 tax appeals from 106 Fort Dix Realty, address Highway 35 and 106 Fort Dix Realty, 295.
Any objection? Anything else, Mary?
No, that's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning, Councilman Grillo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I want to have the following minutes and departmental reports received and filed. The Board of Adjustment minutes of May 25th, 2016.
Is there a second?
Second.
Next item.
And the application before the July 27, 2016 Board of Adjustment received from Paul Sislo for the proposed driveway expansion which encroaches side setbacks for an accessory structure on the property known as 124 Dolan Street, Block 168.12, lots 146 through 150.
Received and filed. Anything else, Councilman?
Yes, just two quick items. The first one is I received an email from the folks at MC Foods. That's the county food pantry. It's something that professionally and personally I've been very interested in, is food security, especially for the elderly and for folks who, many of us don't realize that some of our neighbors don't have the food resources, even though they may live in normal houses with normal cars. And food pantries are a really important part of a community. And so this summer, the folks at MC Foods are trying to really encourage folks to donate to food pantries. So there's actually pantries at the local public libraries in East Brunswick, Edison, Perth Amboy, South Amboy, and Woodbridge. So I would really appreciate if folks thought about going to their website, which I'll give you in a second, considering donating to those in need. Summertime, we have a lot of barbecues, a lot of family fun, but there are those in our community that don't have those opportunities. So you can visit them at www.mciauth.com. One other item, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is a personal item on my part. Mr. Frankel in a moment is going to introduce Chapter 9, a revision of the animal control law. It's about dog tethering. Summertime, a lot of folks keep their pets outside. It's important to make sure that you're doing it responsibly and safely. If you leave your dog out, please make sure they're not out in the sun, that they have water. They deserve dignity and respect, and to be safe. So I'm glad that the borough is doing this. I vocally supported it previously. The Green Team is doing this, and I think it's a great effort. So I applaud everyone involved. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Public Safety, Councilman Lembo.
Thank you, Mayor. No minutes or reports at this time. I would like to discuss with the governing body the crossing guards' salaries. You all received information in your packet. These folks have not had a pay increase in 15 years. We have per diem employees that have been working permanent posts for years that are still per diem. It's getting harder and harder to even get crossing guards because our pay scale is so far below surrounding towns. And you all have before you a recommendation from Sergeant Bartolinsky on pay increases, on taking the 6 senior per diem guards and making them permanent. I support Sergeant Bartolinsky's proposal here.
What is it you'd like to do, Councilman?
Well, the proposal, recommendation is to first take the 6 senior per diem guards and make them permanent. And as far as the pay scale, the recommendation is at $10 per hour for starting for the training period, which is 2 weeks, then $12 for the remainder of that first year, steps to $13 for the second year, and $15 at the start of their third school year. After completion of the third year, the guards would then be brought to permanent status.
Okay, I'm going to ask that you run that by the CFO, because the budget's been set.
Okay.
Let's see if there's anything that can be done from the budgetary point of view.
Okay, I'll run it past Wayne.
Pat, I have agreed with this for a long time, and I put in a call to Wayne today. I wanted to discuss it. So the Finance Committee will be working to see if we can find any money, any place to do that.
Okay, great. I think it's long overdue. We've been putting them on the back burner for years. You know, these people are responsible for the safety of our kids. Long overdue. Also, I received from our attorney, from Mike Dupont, a revised record ordinance. Terry, if you can have this prepared for our next meeting.
Next item.
And we have a request from Melrose Host Company 1 to display Engine 3 at the 2016 Firemen's Convention and Parade on September 15th and 18th. Insurance will be provided by the Fire and Safety Services. Also request an Engine 4 to join them on September 17th for the parade only. Just need approval for that.
Any objection? Anything else?
Other than that, progress, Mayor.
Thank you. Public Works? Who has Public Works? Who's second on that?
Me.
Okay.
There's no reports. A letter from Ted Peterson appealing the Rent Leveling Board's decision. We've already discussed that. We'll be scheduling a hearing as soon as he has the information he needs. Is that what I heard before?
Yes.
Okay. And other than that, progress, Mayor.
Okay, Water and Sewer, Councilman Rittenhouse.
Thank you, Mayor. No reports at this time, just 2 quick items. I had met with a representative from Sustainable New Jersey. They have an opening. The National Fish and Wildlife has some grants, and it's at no cost to the borough, so I'm going to refer this to the Environmental Commission and get the Green Team involved. And this will also supplement some of the work that Rutgers is doing, and will give us some possible flood remediation also. So it looks like a good program. You know, so I met the initial meeting. I'm going to have him meet with the Environmental Commission, and I'll let you know what dates those would be.
First draft of the Rutgers report is September, Councilman?
That's correct. Yes.
Anything else, Councilman?
I attended the Independence Day program at the Senior Center this past week. They had about 120 people, and the entertainment was provided by the Asian American Club, and everybody seemed to enjoy it very, very much. It was put on by the Commission on Aging. And just a thank you to everybody involved in our regular Independence, our fireworks. I thought everything went very well, and they should be commended.
Okay.
Thank you. Progress.
All right. Recreation, Council President Buchanan.
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to thank the Department of Public Works, the police, auxiliary, fire, first aid for their help, and especially the Rec Advisory Board for putting together the Independence Day celebration. It's something that's near and dear to my heart for the last several years. It was a very well turned out event. We had competing towns, neighboring towns that were competing with us, and we still had a very good turnout. So I want to thank all of them for their assistance in putting that event on. Secondly, there's according from Jerry Us, there's limited Mets and Phillies tickets are available for Friday night's bus trip. They're $65 each. They leave the rec center on at 4:15. Also, the Yankees versus San Francisco is now sold out, and this Saturday, the 16th, at 9:15 is Jurassic World, which is PG-13. The only other thing I have, Mayor, is last meeting you rushed through several appointments for Sarah, and I don't believe that they were done legally. There was no vacancies, as the members' terms do not expire till July 15th, and I'm requesting that you reconsider those appointments and wait until there's actual vacancies. In past practice, we've attempted to appoint people in December for January, and according to your request and legal representation, that we can't appoint until there's a vacancy.
And what is the legal opinion on this?
Mayor, you have an ordinance with respect to vacancies, and it's my understanding, if I refresh it correctly, in order to, the clerk has to post within 10 days of the vacancy a notice that the vacancy occurs, so that you can then have people apply to the vacancy. In this particular case, I guess there was no vacancy at the time, so there is some concern that the appointment may not be done properly, especially with notice and allowing other people to apply for the job.
Terry, what's our normal procedure on appointments?
Mayor, at the beginning of the year, actually, you should even say at the end of the year, I put together a registry of vacancies for all boards and commissions. That
Including
registry,
Sarah?
including Sarah, that registry is distributed to the mayor and council, as you very well know. It is posted on the bulletin board for a period of time until most vacancies, if not all vacancies, have been appointed to, and I eventually take it down because the bulletin board just begins to get messy.
Okay, so this is what we've done for how many years?
Since I've been clerk, Mayor.
Okay,
Since, actually, I should say, since that ordinance has been adopted.
okay.
If you may, 2-61.9, filling voluntary municipal positions. And Mayor, I just want to say that this ordinance was something that you were instrumental in putting in here, because you felt that, you wanted to, have all of these appointments, above board. And this says right here, prior to filling any appointed municipal position, the appropriate appointing authority, which is the mayor and advice and consent of the council, shall review each application filled for that position. Each person having submitted an application for appointment to municipal positions under consideration shall be notified. Okay, we already know everybody was notified. And the appointing authority shall conduct reviews, investigations, and/or interviews for any authority deeming necessary or advised. Now, I can't remember when we've ever conducted interviews, but we have always had all applications in front of us prior to any vote. And we were still receiving applications up until last Friday. And it wasn't, in a case of an emergency, I can see it, but the positions are currently filled, and the Sarah board doesn't even meet again until, I think, the fourth Thursday in September.
Speaking of transparency, Mary, I did want to get your input and comment on Sarah holding a reorganization on the Friday of the 4th of July weekend. Not only did they hold the reorganization meeting on the Friday of 4th of July weekend, which has never, ever, never been done, but it was July 1st. There was no new members of Sarah present, and it wasn't recorded. I'm shocked, Mary. I'm shocked to hear these two things happen.
I
they
am
had a
too.
meeting of reorganization before the new people were appointed, and that they didn't record the meeting. Shocked, shocked, shocked.
And the woman...
Not surprised,
Excuse
just
me,
shocked.
It was a borough employee that is responsible for turning that camera on, and she had an emergency in the family. She stated that she was upset and she forgot to turn on the camera. Now, if you want to discipline her, she's an employee of the borough, Mayor.
Mary,
I think that you should.
Mary.
But the committee does not. I don't turn on that camera right now. I was at the meeting. I had no idea that the camera was on or not.
Shocking.
Have we ever appointed somebody without a vacancy? There was no vacancy.
There still isn't a vacancy.
People have been appointed and sworn in prior to the date they took office, with the effective date being the date they took office.
never,
Oh,
my 9
yeah.
years up here,
Oh,
have we
yeah.
appointed
Oh,
anyone
yeah.
to
Frank Bella was sworn into the council several days before January 1st.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a mayor, an appointment to a board
Obviously.
that.
Now, which appointments do you want rescinded?
Just rescind them all and just redo them,
Well, there are only
Kennedy.
two, Mary.
Okay, well, rescind them and do them again
So
at
we're
the
going to
appropriate way.
rescind Don Newton, and we're going to rescind Rosetta Fisher.
Don Newton's currently on the board, so it's not a new.
Well, we
member.
reappointed
It's not a
him.
vacancy.
We reappointed him.
Again.
It is a vacancy.
Mayor.
Just as Rosetta Fisher was a vacancy.
But we made appointments without anybody even seeing an application, whether they were Democrat, Republican, or
Mary.
anything else.
This is not a surprise. It's shocking, but it's not a surprise.
Mayor, we have all agreed.
We've done it
starting-
before, Mary.
No, we have never.
Yeah,
Matter of fact,
yep,
I can
yep,
list.
Go through this whole list and you can find them.
And we never appointed until we had the applications before us. Thought the
have.
mayor wouldn't even
Yes, we
allow
have.
it.
Have.
No, we didn't. Show me one. Show
I
me
just
one,
told
Art.
you Malara Brothers.
We never, we only just appointed them. Are
They
you
were
kidding?
sitting on
They
our
were
desk.
appointed just about 3 meetings ago. I don't know what you're talking about, Art.
Okay, so, Mr.
You're wrong.
Dupont, in your crack legal opinion, what am I supposed to do here?
At this point in time, Mayor, you have two choices. Either you can do nothing, or in light of the fact there are some issues that are raised regarding the appointment,
A lot of issues raised, Counselor.
you can rescind the motion and then vote on it at the next meeting, so to allow the necessary publication. And now I don't know when the term expires for the appointments that were made to fill. All I'm pointing out that is that there are some issues that would certainly question the validity of the appointment.
Well, since I don't have the power to appoint without the advice and consent of council, which I had, I certainly don't have the power to rescind.
Right.
So it would have to be the council doing what they do.
Correct. There would have to be a motion to rescind the appointment, and if there was none, then it is what it is.
Counselor, I have a couple of questions. This was posted the beginning of the year, more than 10 days ago. It does mention Sarah, and there would be vacancies occurring.
I believe the ordinance says 10 days prior to the vacancy. I don't have it in front of me. I know that you have it right there.
Right here, if you'd like to read it.
Well, yeah, but I do believe, Mr. Rettenhouse, it says 10 days prior to vacancy of posting, correct?
I'm not.
I'm pretty sure that's what it says.
And I'll concede that if Terry posted it in January, she more than exceeded the 10 days of posting. My problem is that somebody was appointed that we never received the application until July 5th, and they were appointed on June 26th. That's a violation of the ordinance. How can you appoint somebody when you've never seen the application? I'm just asking to redo the appointments in the proper way, that's all. I will concede, and I'm sorry, Mike, I don't know whether this is a legal opinion, but I'm sitting up here as far as my vote. I'll concede, they had the 10 days notice, because if it's more than 10 days, it's 10 days.
The ordinance says 10 days prior to the vacancy.
So it
What
says,
does it say?
unless essential for the proper functioning or carrying on a business of the local agency upon which vacancy has occurred, a vacancy shall not be filled for a period of 10 days from its posting in order to allow interested persons time to submit.
Right.
So the 10 days has passed from when it was posted.
There's no vacancy.
Also,
That's
when you
Still
have a
current.
reorganization meeting, it means that the terms of the people on there have expired.
The term doesn't expire until July 15th.
Now, July 15th, we did some research on that, too. The only reason the 15th is used is when it was first set up, the agency, the first meeting they had was on the 15th.
Okay.
That's
I don't-
why
It-
that term is used. However,
That's
if
what
you're
we've
going
used since the
to,
existence.
the bylaws of the agency say that the reorganization has to be held immediately before the July meeting.
They did that.
Okay, the annual meeting has to be held before. I
It
did not
was.
see an agenda, I did not see an agenda for the annual meeting. Wasn't
It was.
posted on our website. There was an agenda for the meeting, and within that meeting, there was something, they were doing their annual meeting stuff.
But they-
That's a violation of their bylaws, their own bylaws.
It did immediately proceed. They opened the special meeting. They did whatever they had to do.
Show me the
and
agenda,
then they
Mary.
closed it.
Show me the agenda.
I,
Show me
I
the
had,
agenda.
I
You
had
were
a
there.
print.
Art,
Well,
Art.
I didn't bring it home with me, but there was an agenda printed there.
Yeah,
If you
regular agenda.
if you feel that they're in violation of their bylaws, then pursue it. I'm sticking with the whole appointment issue. I don't want to get clouded by your discussion
It's
with
all,
Sarah itself.
it's all part of this.
No, it's not. It's
No, it
different.
isn't.
They
It's
don't
Nobody
follow,
was
they
sworn
don't
in.
follow their bylaws. You're
Two
not
different
Nobody was
following.
sworn in.
First
Think
of
that
all,
if they
this
don't
was,
follow their
first
bylaws,
of
we
all,
should
this was
not follow
posted.
ordinances?
Okay.
This was
Is that what you're
posted.
saying?
You're not following the ordinance.
The appointment did not follow the ordinance. You're correct.
No, it did follow it.
No, it didn't. It says we have to have, I just read it to you, okay?
It's two
Prior to
separate
filling
issues.
any appointment, municipal position, the appropriate appointing authority shall review each application filed for that position. We didn't receive them until July 5th. The appointment was made June 26th,
The
9 days
application-
after.
The application was here.
The
day of the
application was not
appointment.
received.
It was.
Matter of fact, I have a copy of it that says it was received in the clerk's office on the 27th, Art. That's the official receipt of it. And that was not distributed to the council until July 5th. We're supposed to have it.
It
The
was-
appointing authority,
It was
That's-
here the day of the meeting.
it was not distributed to the appointing authority.
And the clerk said that it was here.
Art, it must be distributed to the appointing authority. We have to have a chance to review it. Nobody saw it. Nobody. The council,
So-
it was received in the clerk's office and it is stamped. It
So
was
what-
received at 9:14 on Tuesday, the
What
day
is-
after the meeting.
Whatever
What
the
is the
council
pleasure-
wishes to do, it's just, it's just another thing on the, just like the
Well,
radio.
that's right,
pleasure
'cause you
of
like
the
doing what
governing
you want to
body.
do, and you don't like being told to.
What is the pleasure of the governing body?
I'd like you to follow, we all have the things
Well,
now.
you voted, so you have to make a motion to undo your vote. Remember, you just said we couldn't do that with the radios, but okay.
No, Mayor, what you were attempting to do is award a contract to one contractor
okay.
when you still had you already had a vote to give it to another one. You have to rescind one before you can do another.
Okay.
Okay.
So you have to do
Yes.
something, Mary.
I make a motion that the appointments be rescinded.
I think, Mary, the only individuals that can make that motion to rescind are those that voted in favor of the motion.
Okay.
So if there's no motion, excuse me.
By the way,
I'll make a motion to rescind.
if this goes through.
Second.
When does my authority to appoint begin and end?
15.
30 days.
15th to the 15th.
15th to the 15th.
So it would start on the 15th?
Correct.
Still exists, yeah.
16th.
16th.
So there's been a motion made. Is there a second?
Second that motion, please.
I did.
Can she second?
Oh, can I second it?
The only way that you're going to be able to do that, sure, you can second as long as there is a moving party that.
She couldn't make it, but she can second it.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting, Walt. Okay.
I don't know. I'd have to.
So a motion made and seconded to do what?
To rescind the appointments, both of them,
Which appointments?
both of them, for the time. Well,
For who?
wait a minute. If
Who
we're
are
saying
the
the
two
10 days were met, it can only be Rosetta's.
Who are the two people?
You appointed Rosetta Fisher and Don Newton, but Don, since we conceded that the 10 days were met, Don's was legitimate because we had his application for about 2 weeks.
So what's going on here?
Okay.
So now it's my understanding it's a motion to rescind the appointment of Ms. Fisher.
Wow. Is that what everybody's understanding is?
Yes.
Wow.
I
So
still-
first you throw the police, fire, and first aid under the bus. Now you're gonna take a veteran of 26 years, a staff sergeant, someone who served her country honorably and with distinction, throw her under the bus, somebody who volunteers at the senior center.
We're not throwing anybody
Okay.
under the bus,
All
Mayor.
right,
We
well,
just want
listen,
you to make the
they have-
appointment
She had
legally.
good company tonight with the police, fire, and first aid. It's crowded under that bus.
Her motion, or her appointment, Mayor, can be made at the next meeting by you.
I never thought I'd see the day where a veteran gets thrown under the bus, but I did tonight. Okay. Okay.
My husband's a veteran too, you know?
Is there a roll call?
Councilpersons Grillo,
While I stand by my appointments, I believe that Mr. DuPont's understanding of the procedural error is correct, so therefore I'm going to vote yes.
Buchanan,
Yes.
Lembo,
No.
Novak,
Yes.
Rittenhouse.
No.
Now, am I allowed to make an appointment tonight, or do I have to wait? Apparently Don Newton was okay. Do I have the authority, the ability to make an appointment tonight?
Sure, based on the ordinance, Mayor, and sure,
Okay.
whatever ordinance is out there,
Just
subject to your
just make it
appointment.
still
effective
able to
as of
make
the
an
16th.
It's your appointment, Mayor.
I'd like to appoint Rosetta Fisher to the Saraville Economic and Redevelopment Agency, taking Dennis Grabelny's place.
Second. Or I move that motion.
Roll
Second it.
call?
I got
Is there a reason you're
Thank
taking
you.
the
Dennis's
member off?
place?
What?
Is there a reason you're taking the member off?
I made a motion, I made an appointment motion.
I
I
guess,
need all the facts in order to vote.
is there a vacancy, Mayor?
There will be a vacancy for Mr. Grobelny as of the 15th of July.
So
Can-
you have the same issue here, Mayor, so what I would suggest is that you make any and all
I'll make
appointments.
the appointment for July, was it 15th or 16th?
That would be effective July the 16th.
July 16th effective date. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Can I just ask a question before we take the vote? Or I'll wait until, we have a motion in a second, so
Yes.
this is question and answer. Does it, is there any reason why,
Close to the mic.
is there any reason, if I don't, he tells me he can't hear me. Is there any reason why we're saying Dennis Grabelny's spot as opposed to the gentleman that doesn't want to be reappointed, Hartsfield?
Why not? Then you give another person an option, fresh look, right? Why not? Dennis has served a long time on a number of land use boards. Maybe you'd like a rest.
As Rosetta, she served on both planning and zoning.
Then you can vote, listen, you already threw her off once, you can throw her off twice.
Roll call.
Roll call?
Councilpersons Rittenhouse,
Yes.
Buchanan,
No.
Lembo,
Yes.
Novak,
No.
Rittenhouse. I'm
You already
sorry.
voted,
I'm
right now.
sorry.
You forgot.
Novak,
You already did that, too.
Grillo.
No.
My apologies.
All right, at this time, I'd like to appoint Rosetta Fisher to begin her term on July 16th to replace Darrell Hartfield. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call?
You made the appointment, somebody has to make the motion in the second, right?
Make the nomination.
I nominate Rosetta Fisher to fill the spot for Darrell Hartfield,
So moved.
who's not,
Second.
who hasn't applied for reappointment. The redevelopment agency.
Sarah.
All right, Sarah.
All right, so has there been a motion made and seconded?
I have a motion, I have it seconded, Mayor.
All right, roll call.
Councilpersons Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Buchanan?
No.
Grillo?
Yes.
Lembo?
Yes.
Novak?
No.
3 yes, 2 no, Mayor.
Okay. Anything else, Council President?
Feel stupid.
No, Mayor.
All right, Business Administrators Report.
Mayor, request for ordinance for amending ASME salary guide to include the title of pumping station operator.
Next,
Is that okay?
yeah.
Request for ordinance amending Chapter 9 Animal Control to include regulations on dog tethering.
Next item.
Well, no. I'd like to know how we're amending it. Are we just going to adopt the entire Plainfield ordinance?
Why don't you send it to the Board of Health? They generally deal with.
They sent it out. They didn't want to deal with it. They sent it to the police department.
They said it wasn't their jurisdiction,
All
it was
right.
police.
And all I saw in the package was a copy of Plainfield's ordinance, and I was just wondering, do we want to, I mean, it was so extensive, you could get a fine if the weight of your leash is too heavy, or too long, or too close to a fence. I mean, I don't agree with people tethering their dogs. If you want a dog, it should be in the house.
What does our animal control people recommend? Why don't we find out, why don't we put this aside, Dan, and find out from the animal control
Well, this is
people?
for discussion. The chief referred it to the animal control officer. The animal control officer agreed with this ordinance. Councilwoman Novak has some issues on adopting the ordinance that apparently is Plainfield's ordinance because some of it is, let's say, too harsh. So
Who will enforce this?
we have an animal control officer, and that individual with any complaints will enforce it.
I just think.
What is the pleasure of the council?
I'd like everybody to read the whole thing and maybe see if they're, I mean, it was really, really
Read it.
tough,
I-
you know?
It is, but I think it's in fairness to the defenseless animals. I have no problem with it.
Yeah, but like, let's say you're in a house over by me. There's a 40 by 90 lot. You can't have the leash any shorter than 20 feet, but you can allow the dog to be within 5 feet of the fence. Their entire lot is 40 feet. So if they put their dog outside at all, they will be in violation of the ordinance. And how do you, everybody's gonna have to start weighing their leashes, and only one collar is acceptable? I just think it's unduly harsh to the residents of the town. Although I don't, again, I think we should have a tethering rule. I just think
Mary,
adopting this in the entirety is a little tough.
You know what, Mary, what I'll do is let me sit down with the animal control officer and go paragraph by paragraph through them and
Okay,
see what
good.
comes.
I mean, I think we should have something. I just think this one is a little tough.
Next item, Dan.
Authorization to rescind Resolution 2016-218, adopted on June 27, 2016, and replaced with an amended resolution to correct wording authorizing the Office of Emergency Management to apply for Emergency Management Agency assistance.
Is this housekeeping?
Yeah, housekeeping, yes it is.
Next item.
Authorization to purchase 7 police utility vehicles for New Jersey State Contract Number T2776.
Next item.
Authorization to equip new police vehicles with lights and security equipment through New Jersey State Contract from East Coast Emergency Lighting for an amount not to exceed $70,344.
Next item.
Authorization to award a contract for a police extra duty detail management system to Extra Duty Solutions of Westport, Connecticut at no cost to the borough.
Next item.
Authorization to purchase watch guard and vehicle cameras and related equipment software through New Jersey State Contract from Advanced Electronic Design of North Attleboro, Massachusetts, an amount not to exceed $38,759.
Anything else?
That's it, Mayor.
You want to do Wayne?
In Wayne, the closed session has been pushed out till the next meeting, and the resolution setting forth details of the 2016 sale of bonds is in your packet.
Okay. Borough Engineers Report.
Thank you, Mayor. First item, no action needed. You've already awarded that contract. Second item, you have a bond ordinance on for your next meeting, so as long as that bond ordinance is approved, we'd ask you to have a resolution awarding that contract at your next meeting. And then finally, we're getting bids for the Bordentown Avenue site improvements on July 19th. So based on the bid results, you may have to introduce a bond ordinance, so if everything's in order, we'd ask that you do that at your next meeting.
Okay. Attorney's report? Okay, we're going to go into closed session.
Yeah, Mayor, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Borough of Council, County of Middlesex, the public portion of this meeting is hereby adjourned in order if the governing body may meet in closed private session for approximately 5 minutes to discuss personnel. Following the conclusion of said closed session, the governing body will reconvene. Minutes will be kept, and once a meeting involving the confidentiality above no longer requires that confidentiality, the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved that the public be excluded, and this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Make a motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't think that's closed session.
Like which one? Right here?
Oh, I'm sorry, Kennedy.
They're coming out. And then we have a public session again?
Mike, I gotta ask something. Go into closed session to discuss whether or not we're going to closed session. I'm not talking about anybody in particular.
How is it closed section?
Yeah.
Apparently it might have to do with the labor contract. I don't know what it's exactly what it is.
If it's just, is it, I don't have a phone anymore, Bill. My phone's gone. I just talked to Kevin about that. I don't have, my phone doesn't work. I'm still trying to get a new one. What? Do you hear what? What? No. Can, I gotta go.
You ready? Take a motion to go into open?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'm going to open the public portion for questions or comments on any and all issues. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. Michael Diadio, and I'm the chairman of SARA. First, let me say I'd like to apologize. I didn't realize until tonight that the SARA meeting wasn't recorded. Joan was there. She was operating the machine. I don't know what happened, but I will certainly look into it. Secondly, she is not an employee of the borough. She's an employee of SARA. At that meeting, we pay her out of our money, not the borough's money.
Sorry, I stand corrected.
Okay. And as far as holding our meeting in July, we did advertise. I have 3 attorneys sitting on that board. Everything was done legally. We did hold our reorg meeting before our July meeting. Everything was on the up and up, perfectly legal. Art is, as usual, incorrect in his interpretation of our bylaws. We could do what we want. Thank you.
I'm not incorrect, and you are incorrect as far as...
Art, we have 3 attorneys. They verified that we can hold our meeting in July as long as we hold our regular meeting, our reorg meeting before our regular meeting. We make our own decisions. We do not answer to the council.
You do answer to the council.
We do not.
Yes, you do, and that's state law.
No, we do not.
You know,
Yes,
Mike,
you do.
for a guy that's never been elected by the public,
I don't want to be elected by the public.
you're certainly,
But I do
you're
know what the
certainly a
law is
handful.
regarding
And
SARA.
it's your
We do not
executive-
answer to
You're
the
appointed
council.
by the governing body, you do the
And
will
that's
of the
where it
governing
ends, Mayor.
body.
We're appointed by the governing body, and that's where it ends. You have no jurisdiction over our
Mike.
board. You have no jurisdiction where we hold our meetings.
Just like planning and zoning.
Right. Well, right. Actually, you supply planning and zoning with their budget. You supply us with nothing. That's why we don't answer to. We'll spend
Well,
our money.
Mike, if I were you, I'd resign, I wouldn't take that. But it's the only thing
Take
you
what?
got going for you, so.
Mayor, if I was you, I'd resign. You're a piece of trash.
I'm
I've seen you.
elected by the people, you're appointed
excuse
by
me.
Tom Palando.
You know, Mayor, back when I was a Republican, hold on.
Because that's what
Hold
it's
on a second.
about.
All right, all right.
Back when I was a Republican,
He
I'd
just
like
likes
everybody
to
to
do
know.
it.
I used to go to dinner with the mayor. We used to go to Villa Galleria, and I'd walk him to his car, and he'd urinate on the car next to him.
Wow.
That's what you have sitting up there as mayor.
What a
Thank you.
crime.
It is a crime.
It's a
What a
crime.
crime.
Urinating
It's
in
a
public
crime.
is a crime.
Oh, my God.
That's what Sayreville's
Michael, that's
represented.
enough.
God.
Michael, that's enough. That's
Oh, my
enough.
God, I'm shocked.
I'm sorry.
And Michael, your executive director, it's their responsibility to make sure that tape was on, not the secretary's.
Yes, it is the secretary. And second of all, we don't have to be. We don't have to be recorded. We are not bound by your ordinance. We are doing it as volunteers, okay? I volunteered, and the commissioners volunteered to allow ourselves to be recorded. So whether the recorder's on or off, it doesn't matter. I could leave it off.
Again, you're wrong.
No.
No.
No, I am
Yes.
not. We are not bound by your ordinances. I don't know why you don't understand that, Art. I don't know if you're just not a smart man or you're ignorant, but you're just not getting it.
No,
Sarah
it's
is
tough
not-
dealing with the ignorant.
You know,
You're
Art,
ignorant.
if Wayne came down to a meeting and forgot to turn on that camera, would we be in trouble? Because
Yes.
I don't turn it on, I don't know how to turn it on. You know, you entrust somebody with something, they have a problem, an honest problem. This woman, everybody up here knows her. Everybody knows her family. She apologized 1,000,000 times when she found out about it. I just don't see why we have to go after this woman like that.
I'm not.
Right, Mary,
I'm
we're
going
not
after
going
the
after her.
executive director, Mary.
Yeah, she was instructed to turn it on. I didn't know that we had to. Everybody has to go and check on everybody else. She's a trusted employee. She made a mistake. Let's go on. There was no big deal anyway.
Correct, Mayor. It was a short meeting. It was no big deal. We reorganized, we voted on a couple things, and we went home. That was it.
They always like to make a big thing. They're being persecuted.
Anybody else? Ted?
Thank you. Is there an ordinance requiring all meetings to be recorded, Mr. Dupont? Or just the SARA, or?
There's an ordinance, but I don't have it off the top of my head with respect to the specific requirements, but typically, there's a recording device, which is, yeah,
There was a resolution for Sarah.
yeah.
So it doesn't apply to the rent control board?
No, it does not.
Okay, I'm asking. I have no idea. Okay, Mayor, as I told you, I was in the Gulf War. I served with the military seal of command.
Thank you for your service,
And I've been
Ted.
thrown under the bus by this council and by this township. Number two, Kennedy, you put down some volunteers on the SARA board, yet when I complained to you about members of the Rent Control Board not following their ordinances and regulations, you told me these are a good group of volunteers who dedicate their time to this community, and I will say nothing bad about them. Yet you seem to have no problem saying bad things about members of the SARA board. I find that disturbing. Mr. Buchanan, thank you for understanding ordinances, and Mr. Dupont for explaining them to the council, and Ms. Novak, they do apply to all ordinances, time constraints, regulations, deliveries, such as when people apply to be on a board, that they must advertise them 10 days, the board must have them this many days. The same things are written within rent control ordinances. And you even testified to the fact that the clerk's office has a time stamped a certain date. Well, we also had time stamps on rent increase requests from the clerk's office, which didn't meet the ordinance requirements. So I hope everybody on this board remembers the argument we just had, that this board had in regard to not only the actual appointment, but the time constraints and regulations regarding the appointments, as they also apply to rent increases within this township. And they've been argued before this board multiple times tonight that in fact, getting to the pet ordinance, it's not only a fact that the pet must be on a leash, we're adding additional ordinances to the ordinance. It must be on a leash, not more than this. It must have water, it must have shelter. So the simple fact that the dog is on a leash does not meet that ordinance. Just as if a rent increase is just appropriate according to the CPI, does not mean it's an appropriate rent increase, because they did not follow the requirements to raise the rent. I was told at the previous meeting, I'm not sure of this, but the woman who was being appointed to SARA was on another board, and you can't be appointed to two boards simultaneously?
I believe that was a mistake. Correct?
That is incorrect? You can be? Okay. Because Mr. Hartsfield is also on the rent control board, as well as SARA, so that...
Not land use. It's land use.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, and Mr. Grillo. A lot of families at Crestview Apartments, as you said, are the hard-working middle class, and they qualify for absolutely no public funding or programs. Yet I'm sure that people over there could use access to these pantries that you spoke about. However, people who are working middle class don't know where they are. Is there any way that we could get the families at Crestview to be aware that they exist, and that if they need help, they can be offered to them?
Sure, I'll reach out to the folks at the county who do this program, and maybe get a mailer out to the folks at Crestview. We'll get addresses, and we'll try to get it out to them so they're aware.
Okay, because I'm sure, and a lot of people who are hardworking feel embarrassed to ask for help that they need.
Thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much, guys.
Mr. Peterson, we do have a pantry at our senior center, and also Our Lady of Victory has a food pantry too, so if you know anybody, and maybe we can put it up on the board to advertise.
Yeah, or put it on the channel, or I could even hand them out with my with my next tenant association meeting. We could hand out a circular with it. Thank you, guys.
Are there any other questions or comments? Being no other questions or comments, I'll close the public portion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before I ask for adjournment, it just occurred to me that there was another application in for Sarah. At this time, I'd like a motion to appoint Paula Sarkowitz to Dennis Grabelny's term. Would someone make that motion? No motion made. Okay, Paula. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mary, just for your information, Title 40, we do have control over the mayor.